Hello everybody and welcome back to the greatest live show of all time. Now today we're going to be talking about a very niche internet streamer slash personality slash whatever the hell you want to categorize her as. But before we get started, I always make sure to include timestamps in the description below after the fact. So if you want to skip around for whatever wacky reason and you're watching the VOD, you are more than welcome to do so. With that being said, the person we're talking about is a very interesting individual. And this is not the first time I've talked about this person either. There have actually been a few times. And the first one was actually a stream I did over a year ago. It was one of the first streams. It was called Pollypeople Hates Femboys. Absolute banger title and thumbnail, I guess. With that being said, hello Cheetah Man, hello 79MNQ, and Tawan. I hope you're all having a good day. Better be back. I think we're back. It should be fixed now. Very sorry about the lag. I know, very disappointing. With that being said, I did the thing where I turned the Wi-Fi off and on again. A very important thing, and that definitely, let's just say that the whole lagging thing definitely didn't help the stream, to say the very least. Oh god, is it still lagging? I hope not. Well, only one way to find out. Let me type refresh. Okay, everybody, that's watching this, which is not very many people, because the Wi-Fi lagging kind of killed the stream within the first minute, basically. Smash like if you're still here, if you're still watching this. I also got part of this very strange orange that's very large. Look at this. This thing is massive. Jesus Christ. It's really good though. I'm just worried I'm gonna get orange juice everywhere. Jesus Christ. I've never had anything like that. Strange, but very good. Anyways, as I was saying before I rudely interrupted myself, I'm very sorry about— oh my god, this is the worst way to start a stream. Now, with that being said, where was I going with this? Oh, right, something, oh god, this really killed the stream. Jesus Christ. That's okay, though. I guess within the first few minutes, you don't usually get very many concurrents, so I guess that's a massive L on my part, because I just started streaming, and that's okay. Usually, for like the first however many minutes of the stream, I will literally just do the thing where basically, long story short, I just talk before I get to like the main meat of the topic. As I get to like the main meat. Oops, sorry about that. Mainly just because I don't believe in using stream starting soon screens. I believe that those are complete cringe. Okay, I think that those are cringe. They suck and they're disgusting. All right, that's my personal opinion. If I'm gonna be completely honest, I think that they are way overutilized. I don't know why people don't, I don't know, fill that space with actual content. I don't know, maybe that's just too much to ask for, you know, which in reality should be the bare minimum. But I guess I'm the odd one out. I guess I'm one of the only streamers that is against the concept of stream starting soon screens, which is unfortunate to say the very least. With that being said, that's not the main meat of the topic, obviously. Also, hello, Rax Sand. But yes, I apologize to everybody that is here that had to endure the lag. I guess it doesn't really matter to the people that were here watching the VOD, I guess, after the fact. But the people that are here as it's live, I let me know if it lags again, because that would be very sad. Again, let me move this bowl. This is also inadvertently the fit check today. As I move this to— where the hell would I— This is fine for now, I guess. Okay. Anyways, Not even an intentional fit check. It was an accidental fit check. Here for the tea, sis? Hell yeah. Dude, I love the tea. Is it still lagging? Because oh god, please tell me it's not lagging. I really hope it's not. Because if it is, I'm gonna be really sad. Now that I'm... it's fine? Okay. Good. Just making sure. It doesn't look like it's lagging, but sometimes it's hard to tell. Like, it'll like, lag a little bit, but then it stops, and it's, like, very, very occasional. So hopefully it's fine. Hopefully there isn't, like, a buildup of delay. I'll be very sad if there is, because sometimes my Wi-Fi just doesn't work. And sometimes it's just like that. But yeah, no, I've been trying to stream more often, whether it be talking about trending topics, whether it be, like, the Vaush stuff, or more niche stuff, like Pollypeople, or Oris cosplay, or Stardust. It really varies, and I think there's something truly beautiful about that, if you really think about it. With that being said, I guess I'll start out by going over, I don't know if I would say the history. I guess that's a very loose term, but I guess I have some small amount of history with Pollypeople. She definitely knows who I am. She's not a very big fan of the Femyoz YouTube channel, which is very disappointing. I don't know why she isn't, but it's very sad, to say the very least. So where do I start? Oh boy. So yeah. So the first time I talked about Pollypeople was over a year ago in a stream called Pollypeople Hates Femboys. It was one of my first streams, actually. My 8th stream out of the hundreds I've done since then. Hopefully I've improved at streaming. Maybe this isn't the perfect example of this, since I've had technical difficulties today, but it's not really within my control for the most part. All I can do is turn the Wi-Fi off and on again and hope that everything works all hunky-dory. With that being said, I do specifically remember that the whole Pollypeople versus Keffals debate about Finnster specifically was how I first heard about her. And the reason why I'm doing this stream, and why I think this is interesting, even though it's not really anything that anybody else has talked about, at least not that much, or frequently, or recently, is the fact that Pollypeople, at least on the surface, oftentimes makes herself look, what's the best way of putting this? I don't know, fucking insane. See, she does this thing where she makes herself rhetorically in the worst possible situation she can possibly be in whatever the given debate is, which is weird because she doesn't always do this. See, it was only after watching some of her other debates where she actually knows how to debate that I realized that she's not always like this. See, she's capable of doing so much better. And while I don't know for certain if she ever will get to that point, I think that one of the things that I'm going to end up criticizing her for is having a massive ego, similar to Vaush and Hasan, where they just can't engage in good faith sometimes. And I think that that is a detriment in terms of her ability to effectively convey information. I thought you were talking about polyamory for a second. No. Let me clarify. Pollypeople is a Twitch streamer, or I think she used to be. I think she streams on YouTube now. From what I understand, I think she got banned from Twitch. I don't know anything about that. Based on the information I have, I don't think she should be banned from anything. Just because I'm not in favor of that. I don't think that people should be censored for their political positions. I think that's kind of bullshit. But yeah, I don't know. She's like a small streamer. Some people refer to her as the Hasan waiting room, myself included, because it is kind of funny. But what's interesting is she's not completely brain dead. You know, I thought she was, based on the information I had, based on how she conducted herself in the debate she had with Keffals. And Keffals isn't a particularly good debater. She's not the worst, but she's definitely not good rhetorically in a debate, but she was definitely way better than Pollypeople. She got banned for wearing more clothes than she usually did. Well, in that case, that's fucking bullshit, obviously. I don't think that she should be banned for something as stupid as that. With that being said, there is some stuff I want to go over, because I do think that there are two sides to Pollypeople. There's one side, which is sort of the side that I saw first, the extremely bad faith, over-the-top, unhinged style of content / rhetoric / personality. And this is what I was introduced to first. This is also how she's interacted with me, basically the entire time. Whenever I show up in her chat to, I don't know, discuss some ideas in the free marketplace of ideas, she immediately labels me as a white supremacist Nazi, without actually explaining why my ideas are wrong, which is very strange. Surely, if I'm wrong about something, you would want me to end up agreeing with your position. You see, the issue is, if you call me a white supremacist Nazi when I don't think that's what I am, and you assert all sorts of different labels without explaining why they are valid to use in that context, I'm not gonna sit there and think, oh shit, I guess I am a white supremacist Nazi. She's right. Better change my position. It's sort of similar to how if I argue with someone that I might internally label as a transphobe, let's say, I don't immediately tell them that they're transphobic because they don't think, oh, shit, I guess I'm transphobic. Guess I better change my position, right? That doesn't do anything, right? You start out by explaining the fact that a lot of it boils down to defining terms differently, right? So the main argument you would have is, okay, well, here's why it serves more utility to make this categorical distinction between sex and gender, right? Rather than right off the bat saying, you're an evil transphobe. It's much better and serves much more utility to try and actually engage with the arguments, recognize what their position is, and then explain why it's wrong. It works every time if you're dealing with a good faith actor. It's mostly spectacle, let's be real. I agree. However, I think that people like Pollypeople are, well, they're indicative of a broader problem. Now, she's not the sole arbiter of this specific issue, right? I think she's far from it. She is one potentially bad actor in a huge sea of potentially bad actors. I think it's something that would be indicative of a broader problem with people like Hasan, Pollypeople, regardless of how large or small their audiences are. She banned one of her mods because she got conspiracy brained and thought they were manipulated by another streamer to spy on her. Yeah, and that's what I mean, is she's capable of having a logical analysis of stuff. I've seen her debate and make logical arguments. She's not incapable of engaging. It feels like she chooses not to. She chooses to be conspiracy brained. And that shit sucks because it's like you see this wasted potential where she could argue for good ideas and be convincing, but instead she makes herself look insane half the time, and then nobody takes her seriously. And then she wonders why she, well, isn't taken seriously, why everybody fucking hates her. So, without further ado, I actually want to watch a past live stream of mine called Pollypeople Hates Femboys. Once again, I already sort of referenced this. You can tell that it's old because the thumbnail is not nearly as good as the thumbnail of this stream. With that being said, I want to get into some of my criticisms. If I think that I jump the gun, draw conclusions too fast, etc., I will disagree with my past self. I'm more than willing to do that. I will say I did used to be a lot meaner. I was definitely not as good at constructing certain arguments, so I might criticize that as well. With that being said, let's get started.
Hello everybody, welcome to the stream, or VOD, or whatever. I mean, it really depends on when and where you're watching this, I guess. Well, I guess it doesn't really depend on where you're watching it, but it definitely depends on when you watch it. So today, we're gonna...
I mean, when you watch it is gonna be partially contingent upon where you watch it, right?
Be doing some live debates, hopefully. If anybody wants to debate me, then, you know, my Discord is linked in the description below.
Oh god, this was what... Oh yeah, this was when I would do call-in debates. Oh my god. I feel so nostalgic now. I would literally debate anybody.
Oh, yada yada yada. You already know the drill. But before we do any debates, or I guess while we're waiting for people
All right,
to
we can skip
debate,
this.
or even show up on stream, because
Hold on.
like I feel like, and maybe it's just I've, as I've gotten older, I've become a lot nicer of a person. I mean,
to be fair, I ended up being pretty mean in some of my streams, if I'm going to be completely honest. She could be suffering from paranoia. This is true. So I am technically part of the LGBT, but I'm also outside it. I don't get poly stuff. I don't get no. We're not talking about polyamory. We're talking about Pollypeople, the streamer. I hate that I have to specify this. This isn't about polyamory. It's about Polly, the individual person whose channel is called Pollypeople. I don't know why that's her name. She doesn't really talk about polyamorous relationships, from what I understand, but I can understand the confusion. With that being said, yeah.
If you had asked me in the past, I'd have been like, furries are cringe. Let's throw them all in the wood chipper. I mean, obviously.
Okay,
that
so
would
I'm
be a
talking to
joke,
chat.
Since everybody likes to talk about Keffals and the wizard game, I think I should do at least one of those things.
I think that's like a very interesting reference point too. The wizard game, of course, we love the wizard game. That everyone was talking about the what was the game? It was like a Harry Potter game, and people were like boycotting it or whatever. But it was like the dumbest shit ever. Same posters. Hold up. What do you mean same posters? Yeah, of course it's the same posters. It's the same person too.
And talk about maybe Keffals, because some people are gonna hate me for this, but I'm probably gonna be defending Keffals. I know, crazy.
This is true.
Keffals versus.
Oh god, this was before I had the. You know how there's like the little rectangle, the cute little rectangle around me? This was before that. That's how you can tell it's old. Haha, sorry, you can tell I'm new. No worries. It means I had a glow up, clearly. If you can't tell, it's the same person.
Pollypeople, Finnster disagreement. Alright, let's see what this is.
I believe this is the first time we've chatted, and
That like to dislike ratio. Oh boy. That's a good sign. That's a.
It sure is. I mean, I guess you shouldn't judge somebody's opinions or the validity of their opinions off of the like to dislike ratio alone, but it definitely does bring certain things into question for sure.
Really good sign.
so, you know.
Also, what the fuck is this like, why is the background like this? Like, you're already green screening yourself in front of one background. Why do you need to split it and then have this other background, and then, and then you have Keffals in front of a completely different background?
This is true. I don't know why the fuck her streams used to look like this. I don't think they do anymore. In fact, I know they don't. They're not nearly this bad at this point. I don't know what the fuck she was thinking. Designing it this way, it does not look good. It's aesthetically unpleasing. It looks like it gives me eye cancer, okay? That's what it does. So I agree with past me's criticism. It is a bit of a nothing burger at the end of the day, but it is what it is. With that being said,
in front of it doesn't look very good, okay?
This is true.
It looks bad.
I agree.
This is not a good looking stream, okay? My my stream setup, which is very basic, it's literally just this and this. Ooh, would you look at that?
Imagine only having those two presets, okay? You have this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Did I already do this one? I don't remember. Did I do this one as well? Yeah, there's quite a few. God damn, I've improved a lot as a streamer. Not just because of the additional presets, but because of my ability to speak, I guess. I think I used to speak slower. Yeah, slower. I still can't pronounce words sometimes. But, I don't know. It's interesting.
But, hey, the fanfic is on hold. Sorry. Nah, it's good. Do not worry about that. No rush, no rush. And for those of you who don't know, I might end up reading a fanfic about me on stream, because I feel like that would be
I don't think they ever finished the fanfic, but I do know what I'm referencing. Somebody was making a fanfic for context.
entertaining. But there's no rush. You can take as much or as little time on a fanfiction
Stop
about me as you
waffling.
want.
You didn't even include timestamps in the description, you idiot. You suck.
All right? Either way, it's going to end up being a masterpiece, because anything that involves me is a good thing if it says good things about me,
This is true.
because the world revolves around me, so yeah.
Also true.
Thank you for considering chatting with me.
Okay,
Oh,
I'm just
I
making sure.
figured that
Oh god, this was also before I had 2 monitors. So if I wanted to read chat, I would have to literally switch tabs. I would have to switch from the from Google Chrome to Streamlabs. So I was only using my laptop monitor and my laptop camera.
you.
Oh my
I figured
god.
you deserved at least a conversation on it. This topic seems to really.
Oh, it's literally just a still image of Keffals, and this person couldn't be asked to, I don't know, crop her out like what she did in the thumbnail. Like, also, I don't know what pronouns this person uses.
I think I've gotten a lot better at publicly speaking, or at least on like live streams, because sometimes I would just sort of not say anything. I don't know.
I assume she, they.
I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't classify this as dead air necessarily. I'm not like silent for 20 seconds in a row. This is something that other streamers do. But yeah, in terms of me personally, yeah, I don't know.
I guess I'll just go with they.
Lots of ums and uhs back then.
Is that you?
Oh, I would say that. Well, okay. Here's the most upsetting thing about it is not necessarily the topic itself. Well, the topic itself is upsetting enough. It's the sort of the well poisoning, the sort of straw manning and dismissing of the very real critiques, I think, of Finn's content.
The very real critiques, guys.
So right off the bat, I want to establish essentially sort of what her position was. I'm not entirely sure if this is completely accurate, by the way, so take this with a grain of salt, but from what I understand, it seems to be the case that she thought that something about Finnster and his content was transphobic, right? So this was sort of something that Pollypeople was talking about. I guess Keffals disagreed with it, and that ultimately ended up with them having a debate. So that's sort of what happened.
Let's just keep that in mind. This isn't satire. This is going to be the very real critiques
That have made it.
Okay, well, Femyoz, either you haven't watched it yet, or you've watched it, or part of it, and you're saying that without telling people what her position is. You got to do a better job than that.
Difficult.
Okay, now Keffals is moving around. Okay, that's good. Okay.
Like,
I will retract the statement I made prior.
I've sort of resigned myself to.
Okay, this in the background though is really fucking distracting, and I don't like it. I'm sorry. You know what? No,
This is a fucking autism moment.
I'm being nitpicky.
People sort of
I need to shut
responding
up.
to me saying, "You're just jealous, Polly," or
Well, no, the correct response would be, "You're just stupid, Polly." I think.
Not to mention the fact that she starts out by complaining about people strawmanning her argument, and then she does a strawman argument, where it's like she'll take one thing that maybe people said, as like a side thing, like you're doing this shit because you're jealous, But that's not like the main core disagreement though. That's not like the main argument, right? As to why Polly would be wrong.
I think that's. You know what? No,
Does Polly still stream? Yeah.
I'm being too mean. We haven't even heard what this person has to say.
or you're or now you're trying to control what people wear. You're basically a turf.
I mean,
So I'm assuming that she's not in favor of controlling what people wear based on this.
yeah, in a sense, I mean, they're not wrong.
So
Okay, but you haven't even gotten through the debate yet. So like I don't even disagree with some of the conclusions that I end up drawing. However, this does make me look bad faith as well, right? So the reason why I'm doing this is I also want to illustrate how my rhetoric has shifted over time, whereas Pollypeople's hasn't. And it's funny because I can use a stream about Pollypeople from the past as an example of what my rhetoric used to be like. It wasn't even intentionally bad faith. It was just bad faith. So you'll notice that I would pause a lot without really listening to what the other person was saying. It was like I heard the words, but I would sort of use that to make very long-winded arguments, right? So by the end of watching it, even if I watched the full video, you would have a completely different experience and conclusion as to what the other person was saying if you watch my stream versus theirs, if there's a disconnect. Not saying necessarily that I was deliberately misrepresenting people's positions either, right? So more often than not, it was the case that it would line up, right? But sometimes it wouldn't, right? And there was a problem with that.
Oh, like that's been, and it's come from the trans people. And I know, I have to guess that's been the result of some of the, not just you, but other content creators.
No, it's a result of the dumb shit you say. And we'll get into
Okay, I get that you're saying, okay, we'll get into that, but again, wouldn't that be something you would establish first? Even if you don't feel like showing a clip, like I understand, you're doing it on a fucking live stream. You might not want to prepare a clip every single time. I mean, hell, I didn't do that for this live stream, but at least have like some sort of like opening or like explain some sort of, I guess, idea behind what the person is saying, right? Like explain what their argument is and or what it entails or the conclusions you drew from it, right?
that. Don't you worry. This person is gonna start saying some real dumb shit about
Then stop pausing it and let her say dumb shit.
About Finnster and potentially femboys.
Sort of not taking the critique seriously and being dismissive of them.
Yeah, I feel like being dismissive of your critique is probably the most charitable approach.
Well, it's not. You would probably want to engage with the critique to be able to explain why it's wrong. Like, you can't give a good faith critique of something that you don't understand, right? You should have at least some understanding of what the position is, right? If you don't understand their position, then how can you accurately or adequately critique it, right? Regardless of what the position is, you should have some understanding of what the other person actually believes. So you'll notice that right off the bat, I'm being bad faith in this, right? So I can critique myself from that. And actually, that's something that Pollypeople could point and say, yeah, this is bad faith. These are bad arguments, right? But what you'll notice is that I believe that one of the reasons I'm particularly bad faith in this is because I have a tendency to match the energy of people that I disagree with, that I dislike, etc. But you don't always want to do that right off the bat, especially if you're basing it off of information that your audience doesn't have. And you'll notice that this level of bad faith interaction is something that Pollypeople continues to do to this very day. And we'll get into that. And the reason I'm willing to say that before I've proven it in this specific stream is because I have done other streams that do demonstrate this, where she does engage in very bad faith. So that is genuinely something we'll get into, and there's going to be timestamps for that, right? There's a certain, and I've already established the fact, I think I stated earlier in this stream that Pollypeople accuses me of being a white supremacist Nazi because I said, and this might be a very controversial take, it is technically possible to be interpersonally racist against anybody, including a white person. That is my hot take that Pollypeople thinks makes me a Nazi. And it's shit like that makes her sound fucking insane, right? It's that level of uncharitability that she has that makes it so difficult for somebody, including somebody like me, who tries to be more good faith these days, to engage with her seriously.
If I just, the most charitable thing somebody can do for you is assume that you're joking because nobody could possibly be stupid enough to think that Finnster is somehow being transphobic by wearing women's clothing.
Okay, but is that what her argument was, or was that a logical conclusion of her argument? Because I'm guessing it's the case that that's more of a logical conclusion, assuming it's not a leap in logic, to an argument that she's made, that at this point in time, in 9 minutes into the VOD, nobody watching this would know about. So people would just have to take my word for it, and I don't think that was necessarily what she was trying to argue, right? So the burden of proof would be on me at this point to explain why that's the logical conclusion, rather than just being the ultimate concluder and just saying that, right?
That's the most stupid shit. And yeah, that is this person's position.
I mean, you could make an argument for that being the logical conclusion, but once again, that's not her position. That's not the way she frames it, right? You shouldn't start out by strawmanning somebody's position. You should do the opposite. You should steelman her position. And when we get into the next video / VOD that we're going to watch part of, we're not going to watch the whole thing. The one where not only do I feel like she attacks femboys, but I feel like she attacks me by calling me a white supremacist Nazi. It's a lot more recent. It's a lot more recent than this. So you'll notice that I engage in good faith to the extent where I steelman some of her positions. And I even end up disagreeing with people in my chat that are shitting on her. Because I'm like, okay, well, hold on. I know what she's saying is, like, optically fucking terrible. But, like, here's what I think she meant by that. Here's the position I believe she was trying to argue, right? Being super good faith, which I think is what people should do, right?
By the way.
So what's the critique,
Well,
in your opinion?
Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
boy.
So if I could sort of briefly describe it, when you create content and you lean heavily into tropes such as, like, I'm a trap.
So if that's the proposition, is that Finnster is leaning into transphobic tropes, therefore his content is transphobic. The standard of evidence is going to be on her to prove that that's the case and assert that there is some sort of harm being dealt, right? So that's going to be something that she has to prove. Now, maybe she comes up with some incredible evidence, but I highly doubt it, right? That's how I would respond today. Let's see how I respond in the past.
Finnster has never referred to himself as a tramp, by the way, but even if he did, who the fuck cares?
Okay, actually, this is a fair argument. I guess the other argument you can make to refute this, I guess with the line of logic I was going for at the time, which actually is a pretty good argument, would be something along the lines of, even if he were to call himself a trap, the term trap is not exclusive to trans women, right? It's not an exclusive term for them, right? So if it's the case, so if you agree to the premise of trap being something, if you agree to the premise that conservatives, let's say, don't make the categorical distinction between cross-dressers / drag queens and femboys and trans women, if you agree with that premise, which Polly does, and you also agree with the idea that that trap is a transphobic slur that would be used by transphobic people that don't make that categorical distinction, then you would also have to agree, based on both of these premises, the logical conclusion would be that the term trap would also be something that could be used against femboys and crossdressers, right? So if you want to make an argument about who has the right to say a slur, and trap is a very light slur, right? Like, lots of things are slurs. Idiot is technically a slur, right? But it's fine to say in general, right? Even though it technically is an ableist slur, it's pretty much a non-issue, right? Similarly, trap would be, okay, maybe slightly worse than that, but it's going to depend on the context. And because Finnster would be in the category of people because he cross-dresses, and actually, I don't even know if he's cis. I'm pretty sure he's gender fluid at this point, but he was considered cis at the time. It would still be applied to him because the people that would use those slurs in bad faith or maliciously wouldn't make that categorical distinction, right?
You know, like, if you've built your entire existence on the, hey, I'm actually a man, lol, but I look just like a woman, and I've, you know.
Yeah, who gives a shit? Like, that is what cross-dressing is. Astute observation. Yes.
I will say that there is one benefit to having the more, I guess, bad faith, trying to make this person look as stupid as possible approach. You definitely are more capable of, I guess, convincing an audience that you're right and the other person is wrong when you do so a lot of the time. Not always, but if you have the correct position and you can argue why it's correct while shitting on the other person and making them look dumb, this can be a useful strategy. I just don't think it's always the most useful. Like, I don't have to engage in bad faith to make somebody's positions look bad, I guess.
Yes, cross-dressing is when somebody who identifies as a man is wearing women's clothing.
Well, sometimes, yeah, but this is a shitty definition because obviously a woman can cross-dress too and wear men's clothing. But sure, I guess. To be fair, this was the 8th live stream I ever did, so my rhetoric wasn't going to be on point.
Wow, that's crazy. Oh my god, guys, what a revolutionary concept.
But is it not transphobic when Steven Crowder dresses up as a woman and pretends to be trans? Well, the reason that would be transphobic is because you'd be trying to make a point against trans people, right? So the distinction that would be made there, if we're talking about Steven Crowder cross-dressing, right? There's a reason he does it, right? He's trying to make it an argument. It's a really shitty argument, but it is the extent of his argument, which is, oh, look, if I dress up as a woman, what if I went into the women's bathroom or whatever the fuck, right? It's a really stupid argument. And he used people respecting his pronouns or whatever the fuck when he asked people to say she, her. Like, he used that as like an argument against woke ideology. It sounded really fucking stupid, right? Whereas somebody like Finnster would be doing the complete opposite, right? When it comes to Finnster, his whole thing was in a sense, breaking gender norms and stereotypes, right? If anything, Finster's existence inadvertently promotes a gender abolitionist position. Now, I didn't know this at the time, but knowing what I do now about Pollypeople, I feel like if nothing else, she would be sympathetic to a position like that.
You know, you're gay because you like me, or...
I mean...
This would also be something that would be the you're gay because you like me thing. This wouldn't be like a transphobic trope. This would be like a like like the super straight people or whatever that are like, yeah, I'm like completely straight. My sexuality is not flexible at all. It would actually be something that would make fun of that, if anything, right?
That could be a joke that's made, but it doesn't really matter. Like, who cares if something is gay or not? Like,
I mean, I'm not wrong, but I feel like what I said is better.
Literally makes no difference.
Well, I guess both things are what I said, but I mean what I said more recently.
Only reason it would...
What is that thumbnail, bruh? Also, I'm late. Somebody dropped the context. Yeah, so I'm talking about a political streamer named Pollypeople. And I'm going over, my old style of rhetoric, and I'm going to go over how it's changed over time, etc. And B, how Pollypeople's rhetoric hasn't changed, and why I think it's harmful to the left when people use the style of rhetoric that she uses.
Would it ever matter? Like, is if being gay is somehow a bad thing, or being straight is somehow a bad thing? None of it matters.
This is true, but not the best framing. Once again, I think it's a much better argument to talk about like the super straight people who think that their sexuality is completely inflexible. That's sort of like the whole punchline of the joke, right? Is that it's actually not inflexible, and the things that they're attracted to are extremely arbitrary and are not contingent upon gender identity or biological sex, right? And that it's a lot more fluid than that. There's a lot more nuance to it.
It's all the same shit, okay? I mean, it's not the same, but it is the same in terms of how good of a thing is it, right? Like, does that make sense?
It does, but it's not the best.
You. And
I don't even think that Finnster is trying to fool anybody.
Your entire presentation is, on the surface, completely indistinguishable from a trans woman's experience.
Yeah, but it's also indistinguishable from a cis woman. I guess until you hear his voice, but still, he clarifies in it like all the time. He's not a trans woman. He's not a trans woman, or at least he did. I don't know. I think he's gender fluid at this point. Once again,
Well, not just that. He's indistinguishable from a cis woman. So,
yeah,
what is your point?
So yeah, obviously there's going to be some overlap in terms of my rhetoric, right? It's not going to completely change. Like the way I think fundamentally, in terms of the way I analyze stuff, there's going to be some similarities, right? It's just that I've come to certain conclusions that I hadn't before, right? And I've also gotten better at speaking.
Isn't that a good thing? Like, challenging gendered expectations, isn't that what the left wants?
Yes, as somebody that is definitely on the left at this point. I guess I was more centrist back then. I was like I guess I was a liberal when I made this. I wasn't on board with socialism like a year ago. That was like a more recent development. With that being said, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why a leftist would make an argument against Finnster.
I thought the even the Wokescold types like this motherfucker right here were in favor of, you know what, whatever.
I thought
Your pronunciation has really improved too. Oh god, this is the worst example of that, because I'm stumbling on my words as I read that. I guess because there's an increased pressure when I read a fucking message about my pronunciation. But yeah, no, your pronunciation has really improved too. Not that it was bad in the old video, but it's really good now. Clear even at low volume. I appreciate that. Why, thank you. You'll notice that, yeah, I would say that I definitely enunciate certain words more. I have a certain way I articulate myself, etc., that I didn't do before necessarily because I hadn't been speaking as long. I've been streaming for like a year. I mean, I guess it's somewhat on and off, right? With that being said, yeah, I also talk faster now. You might notice that. What's your take on Keffals now? She's kind of cringe, not gonna lie. But I'm not really here to talk about that.
I thought he was a trans woman. That's why I sort of let it slide, right? Because
Well, I guess you would think that once you hear his voice, or whatever. But it doesn't matter. Why does it matter? It doesn't change anything.
you know,
Yeah, what about like a non-binary femboy who's like, oh, I tricked you. I was actually a femboy, not a woman who passes as like a cis woman, and then like a quote unquote like super straight person starts flirting and is like, yo, I'd smash. And then it's like, but actually, I'm a fucking non-binary person with a massive 8-inch schlong, right? And that's the joke. Like, are they allowed to make that joke? What if it was a say for instance a trans man, right? So female to male trans man who was doing content like this, right? And then they've been on testosterone for years, but they can still cross-dress and look like a cis woman, right? And then they do that, and then like at the end they do like the voice reveal, right? Like I know there's like that style of Omegle content. Would Pollypeople have an issue with that? Because I don't know if she would be consistent there.
I'm a trans woman.
feel like if you-
Hold on.
Keffals looking like she's so bored. Well, I think it's because she's on camera, and you know how there's like always, I don't know, 20 seconds of dead air in between sentences in a lot of her streams? Well, that's because I believe behind the scenes what she's doing is she's snorting another line of cocaine. You know, obviously she can afford that with the $100,000 she scammed out of her audience. I guess the 100K has gone up her nose at this point, most likely. So, but she can't do that here. So she's going through withdrawal.
Like if you did, okay, why would I hold on? Like,
Well,
like already.
well, I thought you wanted to
haven't
hear
done
me
even
out.
I am, but like immediately you're already saying.
The argument would be that Finnster is approaching the aesthetic of a trans woman without living the struggle of gender dysphoria. No, that wouldn't be her argument. She's not a transmed. That would be like a transmedicalist talking point. So the reason I wouldn't be arguing against that is that's not really what Polly believes.
Saying you weren't even familiar with who Finn was or Finn's content before jumping to that conclusion.
Well, no, because I've familiarized myself with it.
I have
Like,
familiarized
I'm not just
myself. I have familiarized myself, and now I have a shit take. Okay, yeah, okay.
off here. What I'm trying to describe to you is I can understand why people might not quite pick up what I'm putting down here, because you sort of look at the content at first glance, you're like, this is just a trans woman being.
Well, it doesn't even matter what the person identifies as. The person in question, Finnster, is wearing the clothes that he wants to wear.
Somebody asks, "Is that Lyrics?" Wait. The person I'm reacting to in the bottom right? No, that's not Lyrics. That's me. You know that, right? It's the same background. It's just a different camera angle. You can tell because of the pictures on the wall. Same images, same microphone, same hair color. Yeah, you get the point. Yeah, I'm being cheeky. Okay, I couldn't tell because there was somebody that genuinely couldn't tell it was me, and they're like, "Wait, why is there the same images?" And I'm like, I think one of the main differences is the voice too. Like if I had the same voice, that probably wouldn't have been asked, because they probably started watching me after I had already done voice training and whatnot.
I mean, or maybe he doesn't behind closed doors, but I'm pretty sure he does. He seems like he seems like a genuine person. And even if he doesn't do it off camera, okay, who gives a shit? That's his business model. Why do you care?
Trans, right? Being edgy. But
how is...
Now, what's interesting is I'm not even making the best arguments here by any means. Like, these arguments aren't particularly that special from me. Like, it's not like a super complicated dialogue tree or anything like that. Like, these are very surface level. A lot of my argumentation here is, who gives a shit, right? And saying who gives a shit is not like the best argument of all time, but it works in the context of reacting to Pollypeople, simply because she looks like an insane person when she makes these arguments and jumps to all these conclusions.
How is it edgy? What? Being trans isn't... there's nothing wrong with being edgy, by the way. I don't give a fuck, but I don't understand how being trans or cross-dressing in of itself is an edgy thing. I mean, maybe if you're like a Christian fundamentalist, I guess, maybe, sure, but... because it's...
Which sounds like something I would say today. I mean, I didn't immediately think of it, but still. Like the Christian fundamentalist comparison. It's like, how is it edgy? Like, unless you're a Christian fundamentalist, yeah, like that would be like the only category of people is religious fundamentalists that think it's like an edgy thing, because it's like, oh, you're worshiping Satan by wearing these fucking clothes. The Bible says you're not allowed to do that. It's like, okay, like, shut the fuck up. Go shove a 12-inch fucking horse cock up your ass, you fucking cunt.
It's like, oh no, you're worshiping Satan type of edgy. In which case, hell yeah, I'm all for that.
Based? Religious people are so easily triggered. Yeah, this is something that people on the left need to, I guess, talk about more. It's like an important piece of rhetoric, and hell, it's something that I honestly used to talk about more. I guess I haven't been talking about it as much, simply because I've mainly been covering YouTube drama. But whenever I'm talking about politics, specifically conservatism, right? I think that the best rhetorical approach is to point and laugh at Christian fundamentalists that are anti-gay, anti-trans, because of how easily offended they are.
That approach, maybe. I don't know.
Like, there are some things that are rhetorically effective that I've been doing, right? And I keep those things over time. And there's some things that change, right? Like, I'm more good faith than I used to be.
If it means I get to shit on Christian fundamentalists, whatever. You know what?
When you look deeper into it and you become more familiar with his history, you know his entire platform is built off of transphobic shit.
What the fuck is this person saying? I am trying very hard to not say the R slur, because
Spoiler alert, I end up saying the R slur. Now, with that being said, notice my reaction. This is not me being debate-brained. This is not me being rhetorically effective. That's just my default reaction to her randomly asserting that. Again, I think that this does illustrate to an extent how she comes across as fucking insane to any normal person, while at the same time, not even coming across as reasonable to anybody that's debate-brained either, because of the lack of logic and reasoning.
I know people didn't like when Keffals did that. Now, I don't give... Okay, you know what? Fuck. You know what? That's a whole different discussion. I think Keffals is based for saying the word retard. There, I said it too, okay? Based Keffals.
Oh, so I think this was like slightly before I had like my extremely edgy arc of just saying a bunch of slurs.
And so that is, you could tell.
I mean, I say the word retard all the time, by the way. I just am trying to not do it on my channel, because I don't want the YouTube algorithm to say that I'm not advertiser friendly. It's like, what? It's not like I say the N-word.
Also, thank you for Big Guys for the $3. You beautiful fucking bastard. Thank you very much. Saying Keffals kind of bad though. Is it cause she has massive mommy milkers? Is that what I'm hearing? Is it because of the fart porn that she did? Is it because of why is it? Because I don't even disagree. I mean, okay, the fart porn is kind of weird, It's just funny to bring up. But fake farts, yeah. Keffals exposed for faking the fart porn.
Word,
She did fart porn, yeah. This is like niche lore. It's the huge honkers, yeah. She's a bit skinny, but she all right. I mean, fair enough. I'm skinnier though. I'm skinnier than Keffals. You know that, right?
just use all these other slurs. Like, come on, what the fuck?
Tell me I'm.
How is Finn's entire platform built on transphobia?
Well, his entire thing is trap content. Like.
But he doesn't even call it trap content. And even that, if that's what it is, can you explain why it's trap content and why it's harmful, right? Those would be the questions I would ask Polly. You look great, sis. Why, thank you. Nah, you gotta see the side profile of Keffals. My side profile doesn't make me look fat. It just makes me look Jewish because of my massive nose. I've had people tell me that. Like, that's not me concluding that, by the way. I think it's a fucking stupid point that people have brought up as an argument against me, is them thinking I'm Jewish. Like, if I was, okay, who gives a shit? I have genuinely seen people use that as a point of contention against me, is my nose is big, which means I'm Jewish, therefore that makes me an evil groomer, and combined with me being trans.
He doesn't even market it that way, but even if he did, who gives a shit? How is that transphobic? He didn't say anything bad about trans people.
This is also an argument that I would still make today against Pollypeople, right? The idea that she treats this almost on a presuppositional level, right? She treats the idea of Finnster's content being trap-related and therefore transphobic. She treats all of this presuppositionally, right? It's Finnster's content is trap content. She treats that presuppositionally. She presupposes it to be the case without any actual evidence or reason to believe that, and asserts it as fact. She also presupposes that trap content in of itself is inherently transphobic. But what even is trap content? She has not defined what that consists of or why it's harmful. Again, she just makes presuppositional statements about something being harmful without backing it up. The one addiction Keffal hasn't been able to kick is the drama. This is true. Just personal preference, you look great, bro. Why, thank you.
Like, what? In fact, he's very pro-trans. So, if you actually listen to the things he says...
Fooling people.
And what's to say that...
Finn/Ashley is very cute, and I like your nose. It's very prominent, but it accents your cheeks. Why, thank you. Yeah, like, that's something that, like, occasionally I'll be, like, insecure about, but, like, not because I think it is necessarily even... Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with having a large nose. It's just something that people have pointed out. I'm like, is it really that bad? I mean, from, like, the side profile, like, okay, I see it, but, like... I don't think there's anything like there are people that are attractive that have large noses that I find attractive. Sounds like it's best to avoid Keffals. Yeah, I don't know. Keffals is a bit shady.
That Finnster isn't actually non-binary, but just hasn't come out yet. What if Finnster...
Name one. Finnster, I think. Doesn't Finnster have a large nose? So, yeah, anyways.
is a closeted trans...
Doesn't Ashley also have a large nose? And she's cute as fuck, right? Or am I misremembering what she looks like? Because I think that she has, like, a similar... Like, I think she has, like, a similar, like, face structure to me, actually. And she looks cute as fuck.
Trans woman, in a sense. Like, you can't just make these assumptions. It could turn out that...
Yeah, Ashley does. Finn, not really. Okay, yeah. Or no, I think Finn's nose is, because I do remember Finn being insecure about his nose being large, but I think it might be in, like, the other way, like, it being wide rather than long. I think that was... Because I do specifically remember him mentioning it. Like, really? You're insecure about that? And I'm like, you know what? People are insecure about weird shit all the time. Ashley does. Finn, not really. He's got kind of a pug nose. Yeah. Ashley has, like, a similar nose to me, and she looks good, right?
That Finnster is trans femme or non-binary. In which case, this person is gonna look even more fucking retarded.
we're more than a year later, and from what I understand, it seems to be the case that Finn is gender fluid, I think, at this point in time. Finn's just a cutie, bro. This is true.
Which I know it's hard to envisage that, but just believe me when I say
look,
that.
You're gay for liking me. I'm actually a woman.
I don't even think he said that, though. And even if he did, who gives a fuck?
Lol, I fooled you sort of stuff. Like,
which wasn't the content that he was making at the time of this debate between the two of them, right? Which is one of the issues. The other issue being that even if that was the content he was making, it's not necessarily harmful. Again, content like that, if anything, is going to help trans people. Finnster being a femboy and being famous and popularizing the femboy stuff could have contributed to me finding out what femboy or what femboys are and what femboy culture is. With that being said, that's something that has helped me come out as trans. I don't know if I would ever have come out as trans if it wasn't for femboys and femboy culture, which was something that Finnster is a big proponent of, is femboy culture. A lot of femboys in his community. He's considered like the fucking CEO of femboys, right? Holy hair split? Wait, what does that mean? Did something happen with are you talking about the split ends of my hair? Or is it something else? I'm confused. Also, hello Batowcrafter, welcome to the stream.
How does the trans community not take
Are you talking about like the Omegle stuff? Because that's not really, I don't know if Finnster does I don't even think Finnster does anything on Omegle. At least not that I'm aware of. There are way many, there are so many.
Yeah, there are other popular people that were doing that at the time, and B, Finnster wasn't one of them when that was happening. Do you think the majority of femboys come out as trans later on? No, I wouldn't say the majority, but a lot of them do. Like a very disproportionate amount of them, right? Like there are going to be way more femboys that turn out to be closeted trans girls than just men in general, proportionally speaking, right? I think all the egg posting about Finn was kind of shitty and a bit much. And I think that anyone challenging gender roles and congruence is good for the movement. Yeah, exactly. Like, again, that would be a fundamentally good thing for the trans movement. But Polly asserts that it's bad. And she talks about content that Finn wasn't even engaging with at the time. I think that maybe like a really, really long time ago, way before that debate even took place, which would have been multiple years ago at this point, maybe he did some like Omegle stuff where it's like I guess the punchline is people think he's like a cis woman, but he's actually a man who's cross-dressing and whatnot, in which case I think that would actually be a good thing, right? That would challenge like the idea of like a heterosexuality being this fixed, unambiguous concept, right? Which would be good for queer people in general.
Many other examples you could choose from of people where that's the main focus. And even if that's the main focus, your argument is still shit. Because you haven't substantiated how it produces hatred towards trans people. So
raised from that and
I guess what I would change about the framing I just laid out there is rather than whether or not it produces hatred towards trans people, whether or not it produces transphobia, right? And the reason I say that now is because transphobia isn't necessarily based on hatred, right? It could literally just be ignorance or a misunderstanding, right? Ignorance is not necessarily hatred, right? So it should be treated as such. It shouldn't be treated as hatred, unambiguous hatred, right? It could just be the case that somebody isn't aware of trans issues. They define words differently because they're not aware of trans issues. And you can simply have like a good faith conversation. Then they slowly change their mind over time, etc., right? I think there's like an important distinction to make there.
And how is it okay for him to lean into those kind of tropes when he doesn't pay the price for it?
Wait, how is he leaning into tropes that are transphobic, and who is paying the price for it and how?
Pay the price for what? Wearing a fucking dress? Really? That's what you're getting mad about. A dude.
Now, what's interesting about my style of rhetoric there is it's very, there's something impactful about sentences like that, where it's like there's like almost like a reaction to it, right? Rather than an analysis. And sometimes this is really effective. And maybe this is something that I need to incorporate more again going forward in certain instances, rather than everything being like analytical. But at the same time, if this is the entirety of my style of rhetoric, it just doesn't, it's just not as good.
Wearing a dress. Like this is some Candace Owens level shit. Like, the only difference is that left-wing rhetoric is being used instead of...
I get the point that I'm making, and I guess you could say that this could be a logical conclusion to the arguments that Pollypeople is making, but at the same time, I don't know if that's... I feel like that's a little bit of a leap in logic. Like, this isn't the same kind of argument that Candace Owens is making, right? Like Polly is not saying that the issue is cross-dressing in of itself, right? So there's like a little bit of a disconnect there, right? That's not what she's saying. Now, she is talking about something that is kind of nebulous and doesn't really exist in reality, but that's not it, right? Just because she's making stuff up doesn't give me credence to do the same to her, right?
Right-wing rhetoric, but it's the same shitty position.
I mean, objectively, as someone who identifies as a cis man, if a straight man thinks that they're attracted to Finn, they're gay.
Not necessarily. That wouldn't necessarily make you gay, right? So, for instance, it could be the case that you're attracted to Finnster because you see what you perceive to be a woman, right? So you see a picture of him, you don't know what he identifies as, etc., right? A lot of that is going to be contingent upon your personal perception of him. And that's going to vary from person to person. So I don't like this framing from Keffals, by the way. I think it's a really shitty argument.
Facts.
Oh, come on. Why did I agree with that? Why am I not thinking about this analytically?
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on whether or not they think... I mean, okay, if they see Finn...
Okay, I do catch myself.
They don't know that he's a guy. Then... Okay, I feel like... Okay.
Well, wouldn't it depend on why they're attracted to Finn? Right? Like, if they're attracted to women, and including trans women, and also cis guys that look like women when they are dressed as women and look like women, I feel like you could make an argument that that's not necessarily gay, right? So if you're attracted to Finnster because he looks like a cis woman, that's attractive. That's not necessarily gay. That's just what you're attracted to, which would be what you would perceive socially to be womanly or feminine, right? It's not a biologically essential concept necessarily, right? It doesn't have to be always, all the time.
I don't entirely agree with Keffals here because who you're attracted to is not really a choice, right? So if Finn woke up the next day and he realized he was a trans woman and then he started identifying that way, would that mean that the person that is gay before is now straight because they still have that same attraction, or what? So I don't agree with Keffals either on this.
Right. Again, I think that the way I worded it is better. I guess more recent me worded it. It's more articulate. It's more precise, and I would say that it's less concise would be like the one downside. But in terms of how I'm saying it here in this very old live stream, it's not even concise because it takes me like 5 trillion hours to say a sentence. I sound like the type of streamer I would make fun of today for talking too slowly.
But ultimately, it's such an inconsequential argument anyway, because it doesn't even fucking matter if it makes you gay or not. Like, who gives a shit? Like, actually...
Okay, in all fairness, this would potentially be relevant to Polly's argument, right? If her argument is that one of the things that's transphobic is that Finnster is pushing transphobic tropes by saying it's gay that you like me, and people believe that Finnster is a trans woman because they don't make that categorical distinction, that therefore that would be the same thing as saying that it's gay to like trans women, which is saying that trans women are actually men. Now, this is logically fallacious, obviously, but that would be like that's the actual argument that should be engaged with, right? Because that is what Pollypeople's position would be. But with that being said, I don't think it's necessarily gay to find Finnster attractive on the basis of all of the feminine characteristics exclusively, right? I feel like that's not even that much of a leap in logic, because sexuality is more fluid for most people than you would intuitively think. It's not as clear-cut or obvious, right? So it's going to be the case that that's really just going to depend on how you define sexuality, right? And if anything, Finnster would be doing a good thing in this specific scenario, because for the people that are super heterosexual or whatever the fuck, that don't make the categorical distinction between trans women and men who cross-dress, they would have no choice but to question their sexuality. It would, if anything, refute the notion that everybody can tell if you're trans, right? Again, these are all ideas. Again, I'm talking a lot here, but notice how when it comes to the way I engage in certain discourse, you can talk a lot and pause videos a lot without being bad faith. You can steelman somebody's position. You can do the complete opposite. You don't necessarily have to be bad faith if you pause every 5 seconds. The reason why I don't like that I'm pausing every 5 seconds here is because it does come across as bad faith when I'm trying to make the other person look as stupid as possible, right? And that's like my main goal. Depends on what you find them attractive for. Yeah, exactly. Right? Like if you find the fact that he has a cock attractive, then you're gay. If you like him because they have a pretty face, then you're straight. Yeah, or you could just have like a different set of priorities, right? Like you could just not care that they have a cock, right? Like, again, this would be another reason for why it's all a bunch of arbitrarily defined, meaningless bullshit, right? It's just the way we categorize people. And I think that the main disconnect here between Pollypeople and Keffals, and a lot of this is going to be Polly's fault because she's coming in hot. She's the one acting in bad faith more than Keffals, is going to be the fact that there is a disconnect in terms of how they define sexuality, clearly.
Actually, like, what is a single reason for why I should give a shit if me liking something is gay or straight?
This is also another point in Finnster's favor, by the way, right? The whole joke, well, not the whole joke, but a big portion of what the joke entails is it's funny because it really shouldn't matter. Why do you care if you're gay or not? What difference does it make? There's nothing wrong with being gay or bisexual, right? So if it does make you gay, definitionally, right, depending on what definition you use, it shouldn't matter. Like, heterosexuality is not something that should be that important to you. Like, oh, I'm heterosexual. Cool, who fucking cares? Like, it's not something that needs to be defended, right? If anything, it goes against that very premise of heterosexuality being important to a man's identity. Because it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be important to a man's identity, right?
What is one reason for me to care? Please, tell me. I'd love to know.
Do you understand that just saying it like that in such a bald sort of
She sounds like she's taking a shit right now. Like let's replay that for a little bit, all right?
What is one reason for me to care?
Good question.
Please, tell me. I'd love to know.
Same.
Do you understand that just saying it like that in such a bald sort of
Yeah, okay, so it's not just me. She sounds like she's taking a shit. Fuck's going on under that desk? I don't know. She's taking a massive shit in her pants, I guess.
way in isolation? Don't you see that why that enables transphobes to say?
Don't you see why that enables Dude, I hate this person's voice so fucking much. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't even disagree, but at the same time, it's not the best criticism. Address the point that she just made, please.
Sorry.
Say that we're, like, not real, or that we're...
Did Finnster say that?
We're actually
Do you got a source? Do you have a clip of Finnster saying that?
Yeah, or not even necessarily Finnster saying that, but Finster's content promoting that. You have to show how there is some sort of causation there, how there's some sort of causal link, right? That would be the argument against Pollypeople.
Trans women are traps? I mean, if you can find me a source that where he says that.
Also, I love how we're 3 minutes and 46 seconds into the actual debate between Pollypeople and Keffals, right? So in terms of like where we are, fucking whatchamacallit, live stream wise or past live stream wise, we're a little under 19 minutes, right? We've been going for a little over an hour at this point. Or I guess a little under an hour, and specifically for this video, because I guess I was talking for quite a bit. I don't know, about an hour, right? It just goes to show how good I am at making transformative content these days.
I mean, touche. Maybe then you're correct. But until you can find me a source of Finnster saying that trans women are actually traps,
or some sort of logical reason behind why that would be the logical conclusion to his content.
I guess you're out of luck. You're not gonna fucking convince me.
Perhaps.
No, like I feel like they're gonna do this regardless.
Okay.
Finn is a man.
Okay.
So bad.
And it's always identified as a man.
Okay, but like transphobes don't care about that. And
I don't think transphobic people watch Finn's content though. Because they will look at, because okay, if you have the mindset of a transphobic person, you see a trans woman as no different from a man wearing women's clothing, because your brain does not understand basic nuance, or like you don't have common sense, blah blah blah, etc.
This wouldn't be the best argument to make. I wouldn't make this appeal to common sense today. What I would say instead is, essentially, rather than appealing to common sense, a transphobic person doesn't make the categorical distinction between a trans person and a man who's cross-dressing, right? That and a trans woman are basically the same in their mind, right? So if it's the case that they have something against trans women, they think it's degenerate, they think it's disgusting, whatever, they're not going to make that categorical distinction in terms of how they categorize Finnster, or in terms of how they categorize trans women. Now, if it's the case that they decide to start watching Finnster and they become a fan of Finnster, what's going to end up happening is that underlying sense of disgust is going to start to deteriorate over time if they start to like Finnster, right? So if they end up becoming a fan of Finnster, it could be the case that they still don't make that categorical distinction, but that wouldn't be a variable that changes, and it wouldn't necessarily be reinforced either. In fact, that variable is going to be somewhat contingent upon their unwillingness to learn new information. So that would be less of a fixed variable on the basis of them watching Finn's content. So that variable of them thinking that sex and gender are the same thing, that it's the same thing to be a man who cross-dresses and a trans woman, that variable is going to be far more up for interpretation or / being changed in their minds if they stop having these irrational thought processes related to trans people, right? So that'd be like my main, that would be how I would phrase it today.
Alright, you get the fucking point, right? And if this person hates trans women who they think are just men wearing women's clothing, then what makes you think that they would like Finnster? Oh wait, they wouldn't.
people who are not who are not well, I guess, you know, super in tune with trans issues are not going to think there's a dime's worth of difference between Finn saying, haha, I fooled you, look.
Does he even say that, though? And if he does, it's like, okay, cool, that's an obvious joke.
Wouldn't it also be beneficial? Again, it would just promote the idea that your sexuality isn't as set in stone as you think. And at the end of the day, gender is super ambiguous. It's something that you don't necessarily have to conform to. He inadvertently demonstrates the fact that gender identity and gender expression and biological sex are completely separate categories in terms of what they represent, right? So, again, it's very clear that his gender expression is categorically different from his gender identity. That's the point. And making that distinction is important in understanding trans people. And he inadvertently does that with the content he makes.
So,
seems like her criticisms could also be applied to drag queens. Oh yeah, absolutely. But Polly would probably think twice before attacking such a stable of gay culture. oh, such a staple of gay culture as she should. She's out of line. Oh yeah, absolutely. That would be like a logical conclusion, right? I think that like the main issue with my style of argumentation back in this live stream is I say that that is her position rather than a logical conclusion that could be derivative of her position, right? Like this could be derived from the logic she uses rather than her position, right?
So what is the issue?
You know, I'm just a man who looks every bit as much as a woman, and some
Okay. Yeah. Who gives a shit?
other.
Okay, again, I don't disagree with the who gives a shit line of reasoning, but at the same time, a better argument wouldn't be who gives a shit. It would be this literally deconstructs gender as people intuitively understand it. That's the point. Part of gender is gender expression. And the way that Finnster expresses himself in terms of his gender completely deconstructs the preconceived notions of what that is, of what gender and gender expression entail. That's the whole point, is to prove that, yeah, this is fucking ambiguous. This isn't as unambiguous or clear-cut as people think.
Actually trans content creator that does the same thing or would do the same thing, except the harm that comes from that falls solely on the trans community. Or
Establish what the harm is. Establish how it is harmful.
Where? You do realize that if Finn's content is catered to normies, right? Who may be on the fence or centrist or whatever.
Also, up until this point, this is going to change in a second, I've been playing everything at 1x speed. Normally I don't do this because I'm a fast talker at this point, but I didn't used to be, as you can tell. And the reason I played it at 1x speed is mainly due to the fact that I just wanted to show what my content was like before at a regular pace. I will be playing it a tiny bit faster. You may or may not notice, depending on how observant you are. It's not going to be like super fast or anything. It's going to be like 1.15 times speed.
Whatever the fuck. Or they're just not sure yet. Or they haven't really thought about it. And they start watching somebody who pushes gender norms and expectations aside and does their own thing. I don't see how that's going to make somebody transphobic. Like, am I missing something? Obviously, I'm not, because I'm smarter than this person, and I actually know what the fuck I'm talking about. Same with Keffals.
I don't know if I would say that Keffals is smarter than her. I think that they're both dumb for different reasons. Polly is dumb because she doesn't know how to come across as not batshit fucking crazy, and because her ego gets in the way of her judgment. But with that being said, I don't think that she's entirely dumb. Like, I think she can be smart. Like, I don't think she's, like, cognitively impaired or anything. And considering the fact that I've seen other debates where she's fully articulate and actually makes good points and knows how to use logic and reasoning and doesn't come across as unhinged, I feel as though this might be a mischaracterization on my end. Again, I didn't know that. On the other hand, I don't think that Keffals is, like, a particularly good debater or source of information. So I think I might have been overly charitable to Keffals and overly uncharitable to Polly. Now, obviously, Keffals is in the right in this situation, and she looks way fucking better than Pollypeople. But it's not because Keffals is necessarily smarter. Optics-wise, she probably is. In fact, she definitely is. But I guess you could argue that because Finn passes so well, it might be able to make people more prone to having the opinion that there's no distinction between a crossdresser and a trans woman. Yeah, but people that would already believe that would already, like, people would only, there would be a difference there, right? It would only, I guess the argument you would be making is that it would reinforce an already existing preconceived notion, but at the same time, that preconceived notion would be way easier to deconstruct if those people don't make that distinction and they're a fan of Finnster, right? So if they're a fan of Finnster, and they watch his content, and then he spreads good ideas, and he himself makes that distinction and says, hey, by the way, I'm not trans, I'm literally just a crossdresser, that's why I use he, him pronouns, but it's not okay to misgender people that are actually trans, and gender expression and identity can be ambiguous sometimes, etc. I think that he's doing a net good there. You have to keep in mind that if people are basing that off of the content they consume from Finn, they're also going to consume the ideas that Finn has, whether they realize it or not. And the ideas that are shared throughout the community, which are going to be overwhelmingly positive in terms of trans representation and whatnot, right? And that's important. That's an important piece of information that Polly sort of leaves out a lot of the time.
She knows what she's talking about. But this Pollypeople motherfucker is fucking clueless.
Or largely unfairly on the trans community, which is a much more marginalized community.
Can you give an example of something that Finn has specifically said, word for word verbatim, that has negatively affected the trans community? And can you show me like a causal link or something? Like,
I think asking for a causal link is something I would still do today. Would you agree with Polly then if Finn made no effort to make that distinction between him and trans women? I think I would be more sympathetic to the position, but I don't think I would entirely agree with Polly still. Like, as long as he's not actively avoiding making that distinction, I don't think that there would be anything inherently wrong with the content. Again, part of it is going to be contingent upon how he addresses those sorts of issues, when he addresses them, etc., and how he handles his community and whatnot, and a lot of it is going to be contingent upon the way he talks about the issues. And if he doesn't talk about them, then I would be agnostic on the position, more likely than not. I guess not agnostic. I would be more against Pollypeople than Keffals for sure. But I think that distinction is self-evident if you actually understand trans issues, right? So I don't think Finn is necessarily obligated to help transphobic people understand that distinction, right? And I don't think he would necessarily worsen it either, right? Even if it was like you could make an argument that maybe temporarily people see Finnster as a trans woman and had no idea what trans people were, and they're like, I guess trans women are men that cross-dress. But I feel like even then, that doesn't come across as like a logical conclusion to make based on the information they're giving, right? They might not know anything about trans people, and they just wouldn't know after the fact, right? Like, I don't think it would make anybody's positions worse on the matter, right?
Literally just like anything. One example, one specific example of him causing harm. I would love to see that. Like, do you have a single source? Please.
Really do not understand how you're coming to the conclusion that Finn increases the amount of transphobia in the world.
So if you lean into any trope, like if you lean into sort of, I mean, I hate to like use this as a crude example, but if you make sort of racist jokes that are obviously racist.
Wait, this is completely disanalogous, though, right? If I'm in Keffals' position, obviously, my counter argument would be the following. Well, this is clearly disanalogous due to the fact that Finnster is not making transphobic jokes. At no point is he shitting on trans people. So that would be the symmetry breaker. So find something that is more analogous.
Okay, but Finnster is not making transphobic jokes that are obviously transphobic. Like, a racist... Let's say the race...
Who's the motherfucker you're watching react? Oh, that would be me, yours truly, from the past. You can tell because it's the same background. Same mic. I can't tell when people are joking or if they haven't seen my older content, because I sound different and I look different, and the camera angle is very different. So, the voice, yeah. Not to derail, but it looks like Stardust is about to disavow lolly shops. Find out more on the next episode of Dramayoz. You better believe that we will be talking about that soon. Oh shit, you grew your hair out? I didn't just grow my hair out. I started taking estrogen. I have a different camera. I did voice training, etc. And got cat ears. This is also true.
This joke is black people bad. Get it? Because it's racist, so it's funny. I don't fucking know. That would be equivalent to trans people bad or some shit. I don't know. If that's the message of the joke, is what I'm trying to say, right? But that's not the message of any joke that Finnster makes. In fact,
True.
Finnster is actually very pro-LGBTQ+. He is very pro-trans. So if anything, if people are influenced by Finn, they are more likely to be accepting of trans people than if they don't, as well as gender nonconformity. Like, you sitting here and saying that Finn is not allowed to wear the fucking clothes that he wants to wear.
Okay, well, she didn't say that specifically, right? She's saying that it's trap-related content, but she hasn't explained why, right? So that could be a reason why, potentially. it's the only one that I could think of, but at the same time, like, I think that I'm being the ultimate concluder once again in this clip. I would say that, I guess a better argument would be that cross-dressing is something that being socially acceptable benefits trans people broadly. Because at the end of the day, all of it falls under the category of sex-based gender nonconformity. And what I mean by that is it doesn't conform to genders that are contingent upon biological sex, right? So no matter what, you're breaking conformity to sex-based gender, right? Gender that is solely contingent upon biological sex, right? With that being said, Finnster doing the content he does would be beneficial in that regard, specifically. So it would actually be beneficial to the trans community and gender non-conforming people broadly and queer people broadly, etc. for him to make the content he does.
Is fucking absurd. Like, for someone who claims to care about, I guess this person hasn't claimed to care about freedom or anything, but whatever.
In a way to sort of to straw man
Right.
like racism, you're going to have.
I don't think this person's brain is computing information very quickly. I don't know. Something gives me that impression.
After seeing more of her content, I think there's actually the opposite problem. I think she tries processing a shit ton of information at once, but then she processes it incorrectly, and then it's like she comes to like batshit insane conclusions. Like she's it's not that she's like super slow-minded or whatever the fuck. It's just that she's like I don't know, like schizophrenic, right? Let's continue.
Do any of you guys in chat know what that may be? I don't know. Mystery, truly. Alright, let's read chat, see if anybody wants to debate me.
It's really no different from a trans person telling a non-binary person that their existence causes problems for them. Too bad you don't get to say that. Yeah. No, absolutely. I completely agree. Because at the end of the day, you could make that same argument. Oh, this is bad optics because people will not understand the struggles of binary trans people. It's literally the same argument.
Alright,
What am I doing?
I know one of those people. I would assume you know Keffals. Hello, how do I debate? I want to debate. Okay, so, if you want to debate, just join the Discord server, linked in the description below.
Damn, it used to be that easy to debate me.
And then, yeah.
Shut up, I don't care.
Alright.
Nerd.
Alright, let's continue.
Racial minorities taking strays and being harmed by that, like the furthering of tropes. Like, are you saying I need
The furthering of what trope?
to prove to you that the furthering of transphobic tropes hurt?
There's no transphobic trope. You fucking idiot. Cross-dressing is not transphobic. Fucking retard. Yeah, that's right. I said the Keffals word. Because you're a fucking retard, Pollypeople. You're a fucking retard. Yeah, and I will keep... You know what? Fuck this. I don't even care if this demonetizes this or whatever. Okay? I will say the Keffals word. Alright?
Demonetized? You weren't even monetized yet. I guess I ended up having my entire channel demonetized. But that was way after this. That was during the Cheeto stuff.
I will say the Keffals word. Alright? I don't care anymore. Fuck this.
This must have been right after Keffals was getting a bunch of shit for saying the word retard.
The trans community?
Yeah, me trying to be advertiser friendly lasted for like 5 minutes.
Like, that's not a given to you?
I've gotten a little bit better over the... not over the years, because it hasn't really been that long. Over time. Over the months.
So, would you equally take offense when trans women who are doing sex work play into these tropes on incredibly large platforms because they know that it sells?
Finn is not trans. Finn is cis.
Who gives a
Okay, but if you're gonna make an argument about harm, right? You are making an intrinsically consequentialist argument, right? Like it's a matter of consequentialism, as in these are the outcomes that are harmful, right? So it wouldn't be contingent upon what Finn identifies as, right? That would be irrelevant. That wouldn't be an important variable because that doesn't determine the outcomes, right? So again, if you agree to the premise that conservatives don't make that categorical distinction and transphobes broadly don't make that categorical distinction, then why would they in this case? Well, they wouldn't. So it would be irrelevant what Finn identifies as in terms of the harm it would cause to people, to trans people, in terms of transphobic people not understanding them, right?
shit? Literally, who gives a shit? It's called cross-dressing. Do you have a problem with drag? Is there something you have against drag queens? I mean, maybe you should become a conservative, because I think you have a lot of things in common. I mean, you hate cross-dressing, you hate gender nonconformity, you hate pushing the boundaries of what is and isn't expected of certain genders.
So I am doing a little bit of a leap in logic here, more than I would today, but I don't entirely disagree with this either, because these are the logical conclusions to the arguments that Polly was making at the end of the day. Like, that is ultimately what that boils down to, this is somebody whose entire career is built off of him cross-dressing, right? Which I think is a beneficial thing. And because Polly hasn't been able to actually describe anything that Finn has done wrong and just vaguely alluded to it being trap content, I think it's a reasonable conclusion to come to. Now, in terms of her actual argument, I guess she hasn't explicitly stated that she's against cross-dressing. So rather than coming to this conclusion, and I guess, I wasn't personally the one debating Polly, so I mean, definitively somebody that hates cross-dressing, you would want to say that, rather than saying that she's against cross-dressing, you would say, okay, well, while it's the case that you say you're not against cross-dressing, wouldn't this be the logical conclusion to all of the arguments you're making? Because I don't understand why else you would have an issue with Finnster's content or how it's trap-related content.
Clearly you have a problem with something being seen as gay or straight, when in reality, being straight is not better than being gay or vice versa.
Well, no, to steelman Polly's position, again, her argument there would be that because people don't make the distinction between trans women and cross-dressing men, if it's the case that people conflate Finnster with being transgender, and they say, and let's say Finnster is like, it's gay to find me attractive, it would logically follow that people that think that Finnster is a trans woman would conclude that based on that information that it's gay to find trans women attractive, and it would therefore be transphobic, because that's basically an indirect way of saying that that trans women aren't women, right? That would be like the argument she's making.
So it's inconsequential and doesn't fucking matter. Like, I feel like if anything, Pollypeople has more in common with Matt Walsh than they have with me. Funnily enough.
I don't know about that. I disagree with that.
Trans women that do that, trans women are doing that, and they are doing it, one, because they have to. They live in a transphobic society. They're doing the...
Do they have to? Like, okay, let's say they do. Okay? Cool. Like, this is a non-point.
Best they can. And it's, to say those two things are the same blows my mind.
No,
like,
you don't have a mind to begin with, so how can it be blown? All right, I'm sorry.
If you're
are you going to pretend like there's not a difference between those two things?
There's really not. Fucking idiot. Like, yeah, people can be gender non-conforming. Wow, crazy. I'm assuming this person also takes issue with, like, any, like, sissy porn or, like, just the sissification fetish in general.
I would like to know what her thoughts are on that, because, I don't know about her, but, I can't say I think any of that is problematic. If I did, let's just say I would be about as hypocritical as Vaush.
I guarantee it. Which is, yeah, this person would really fucking hate me. I guarantee you, Pollypeople, if this person ever engages with me in a discussion, they will fucking hate me within the first 5 seconds.
Oh yeah, this is absolutely true. She accused me of being a white supremacist Nazi with no evidence, and presupposes it based on a bunch of worthless fucking labels. She's like, well, you see, you're actually, because you believe that it's physically possible to be racist against anybody interpersonally, and that includes white people, that actually is a white identitarian position, which is the same thing as a white supremacist position, which means that you're a white supremacist Nazi. It's like an insane leap in logic. Like, she sounds schizophrenic when she says that. It's like she uses these labels that don't mean anything in terms of how she uses them. She is the perfect example of a leftist who completely devalues the meaning of words like Nazi and white supremacist, right?
More than I already hate them.
At this stage, were you in the closet? Yeah, I didn't know that I was trans yet.
Well, I don't know.
I thought I was just a femboy.
I
No,
already
but I feel like if
dislike-
you're making this argument, it would actually be more harmful for trans people to do it because they're more representative of the trans community than Finn ever will be.
The average person who's going to be willing to go along with transphobic tropes are transphobic people. Are you kidding me?
So what are the transphobic tropes of Finn's content, and can you explain how it causes harm?
Like, it doesn't matter to the average transphobe whether Finn's doing or an actual trans woman are doing. It's not a dime worth of.
Didn't Jalen call Stardust a Nazi? Yeah, and I reacted to that shit on stream. I'm like, yeah, she probably shouldn't do that. But she didn't even double down on it. She was just like, oh, I thought that she was probably a Nazi, lol. Like, it wasn't like something she was saying is like a super serious position. She just didn't know who Stardust was, and she's like, yeah, that's probably a Nazi. Right? It's like an unserious term, which I would agree, like, she probably shouldn't do. Whereas Pollypeople will double down. She's like, no, you definitively are a white supremacist Nazi. Like, she genuinely believes that.
Okay, well then you just contradicted yourself because you were saying that there was a difference, and now you're.
Oh shit, should I use she, her for, who, me? Yeah. Well, I don't really care that much. But in terms of, yeah, I have a slight preference for she, her, I guess.
Saying that there's not a difference because a transphobe doesn't care if it's a trans woman or a man cross-dressing. Wow, crazy.
The difference, but one person doing it receives none of the fucking fallout from furthering transphobic tropes, and the other.
No one is furthering transphobic tropes, you fucking retard.
This is what I mean when this fucking idiot, Polly, will make these sorts of claims. She doesn't substantiate them. She just treats them as presuppositions that I'm supposed to somehow already agree with.
There, I said it again. I said the Keffals word.
Nah, don't worry, use a girl, so I should call you a girl? Yeah, of course. I appreciate that. Why, thank you. It's like if people get it wrong, it's like fine, I guess. For me specifically. Some people are a little bit more sensitive than me, I will say.
I'm sorry, I can't help it. I'm never gonna be advertiser friendly, am I? At this rate, oh god.
Person is doing it because they have to and faces all of the fallout anyway. The fact that you are making this argument shows me why you're not really thinking about this hard enough, and why I'm actually kind of disappointed in how you've engaged with this topic.
And the only one that's disappointing is you, Pollypeople. You're a disappointment to your family, you're a disappointment to society, you're a disappointment to Keffals and her entire audience, and most importantly, you're a disappointment to me. Get some fucking help.
In its entirety. I thought you would at least be somewhat charitable to the obvious position here.
The obvious position is that it's not transphobic, fucking retard. Oh my god, I keep saying the Keffals word. Okay, you know what? I give up. Maybe I should stop reacting to this.
Maybe.
I feel like
I don't.
this person is forcing me to say the Keffals word. It just comes out of my mouth. I can't help it, guys.
That, like, Finn doing something transphobic essentially is not the same as some
I don't
sex
think that
worker.
Finn is doing anything transphobic.
Okay, well, would you
I'm not convinced.
would you deny that he's furthering transphobic tropes?
No.
Yeah? Because he's not furthering transphobic tropes. How would he be doing that?
Yes, he's not doing that. I would deny that.
I actually think that Finn is doing good at presenting a role model for gender nonconforming men and is
Exactly.
making the world a less transphobic place with their platform.
Okay, so then if you don't think somebody saying, haha, I'm a trap, if you
You never said
if
that.
your position is as a fucking cis man that the strays that are
Also, once again, people would use the term trap derogatorily against cross-dressers as well, not just trans women. So, it's not us trans women that have exclusive access to that slur. Not that I even care if people use slurs, to be completely honest. It's like, I think that the harm is overstated, right? Sometimes. Depends on the context. Sometimes the harm is not overstated. This person is unhinged, lol. Yeah, exactly. They come across as extremely unhinged.
are obviously going to be taken by the trans community, he's entitled.
I used to be a major transphobe before my brother came out as trans. I was so edgy. Yeah. And that's sort of one of the issues with Polly is she comes across as every single bad stereotype of a leftist that people bring up as a bad example to represent the left and say, this is what the left is like.
To do that for whatever reason you're coming up with, and I don't.
Oh no, there's a guy wearing a fucking dress.
A trans person can also further transphobic tropes. That doesn't mean they lose their LGBTQ membership card, lol. Yeah, this is also true, right? Like, it's going to be the case that whether or not somebody is furthering transphobic tropes has nothing to do with whether or not somebody is trans. In fact, if anything, somebody would inadvertently be more likely to further transphobic tropes if they are trans on the basis of them being a representation of the trans community, potentially, in the eyes of other people. Now, there are going to be some people that don't make the categorical distinction between somebody like Finnster and a trans woman, right? But some people are, right? So, again, it would have to be 0 people not making that categorical distinction for that argument to not hold up, right? And I believe that Polly would agree that somebody like Blair White, despite being trans, wouldn't have a more valid opinion on trans issues than somebody that she supports who's cis, such as Hasan.
What will we ever do? Is it bad? Is it transphobic because you say so, or what? Because you haven't presented any actual, like, objective or tangible harm. You're just saying shit. You have no sources, no statistics, no data, not even any anecdotal evidence. You don't even have a negative experience with a genuinely transphobic Finnster fan. And even if you had one, maybe, let's say, that wouldn't mean anything anyway. But it's like, you're just saying shit. You're making shit up.
I mean, I can see why people are unreachable on this.
Well, it's just that your position is so shit. It's like you could have the best rhetorical approach in the world, and you would still look retarded.
I sort of agree, but I think it's a combination of her having the worst rhetorical approach in the world and having the wrong position that makes her look unhinged, right? Deadly combination. If you have at least one of the two things down, you don't necessarily come across as unhinged, right?
This argument just opens you up to such weird positions. That's the problem.
How?
Like, if you're gonna make this exact argument, then why aren't you going after drag queens? It's like,
yeah, that's
so
what I
you think
said.
Being a woman is a performance. You think you can just like dress up like a woman and do a show and dance?
Yeah, wouldn't it be a mockery of trans women? Wouldn't it be furthering transphobic tropes?
Her fucking expression too. Oh my god.
Drag queens don't say I'm a trap. Like it's.
Neither does Finnster.
But I don't think Finnster said that either.
Correct.
And what if a drag queen did? Then what? What are you gonna do? You gonna cry to mommy? You gonna cry to mommy about it?
Yeah, exactly. It would be a slur that's used against drag queens as well. The people that would use that word maliciously wouldn't make that categorical distinction. So why would they use it against trans women, but not drag queens if they see them as the same thing? So the slur would be used derogatorily to both categories of people, and therefore both categories of people would have the right, even in Pollypeople's worldview, and with her own logic, in relation to slurs, they would both be able to reclaim them, right?
Boo-hoo, throw a fucking temper tantrum over a non-issue that doesn't fucking affect anybody. Literally nobody gives a shit.
What are you talking about? I have seen so many drag queens say I'm a trap.
Okay.
Yeah, that too.
Hey, but they're not like looking.
They're not. It's like this is so bad. This is so embarrassing. Oh my god. Oh god, Pollypeople, please stop. You're digging yourself a deeper grave here. Oh, it's different because it's like she's like some sort of fucking computer, right? It's just like Windows XP is just not keeping up.
I think this is a good comparison.
Just it's like opening 100 tabs of Google Chrome on Windows XP and it just goes.
Her hair is so fucking greasy. Who, Pollypeople? Yeah. She has like this weird habit of like doing this with her hair, like constantly. I've seen it. It's very strange.
It was like doo-doo-doo-doo, just fucking completely shut down. No brain whatsoever. I swear to fucking God.
The drag queen argument is so stupid because
It's really not.
Because drag queens like go out of their way to not even look like cis women. They're like
So then the symmetry breaker there would be that they make the categorical distinction between themselves and women very apparent. And also, let's replay that, because I think this is
queen
important.
argument is so stupid because
It's really not.
drag queens like go out of their way to not even look like cis women. They're like
Cis women, hold on. That's not even the same thing, right? Like, if we're talking about representation of the trans community, why would you say they don't go out of their way to look like cis women? Is it because perhaps they would be more likely to look like trans women, maybe potentially, than cis women? Considering the fact that they would be biologically male but presenting way more femininely, which would be analogous. Maybe you could argue, right? But of course, Polly doesn't want to go down that route because it proves her wrong.
But there are so many drag queens that do. So
This is also true.
And where do you draw the line between drag queens? Like, what does a
I think that the symmetry breaker she's trying to draw here, but which doesn't fucking work, by the way, is the fact that drag queens are categorically different from trans women, and that categorical distinction is self-evident. That's the word I was looking for, is self-evident. But I also believe that Finnster, in terms of that categorical distinction between him and a trans woman, is self-evident based on him explicitly stating multiple times he's not a trans woman. So that would be just as evident.
cisgendered woman look like? First of all, and secondly, where do you draw the line? Because obviously there's going to be a little bit of a blurry line.
caricatures, for fuck's sake. It is an artistic endeavor. What
As opposed to Finnster's artistic endeavor.
Finn's doing is essentially saying, I'm a trap, and winking and nodding and looking exactly like a trans woman.
But he also looks like a cis woman. The point isn't to look like a trans woman, it's to look like a cis woman. That's the point. Is that he goes out of his way to present as a woman and tries his damn hardest to look like a cis woman. That's the whole point. The big reveal isn't, well, you see, while it is the case that I was pretending to be a trans woman, I was actually not a trans woman. That would be extremely underwhelming and boring, right? So if we're talking about like the really old Omegle content, that wouldn't be applicable.
Well, he looks exactly like a cis woman. So I don't see what your point is. Does this mean that people are gonna suddenly hate cis women? No, it doesn't.
Well, that wouldn't be a good counter argument, right?
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
But saying, I'm not,
looking
I'm
exactly like a trans woman.
I'm a
What does
trap.
a trans woman look like exactly
Well-
to
Yeah, yeah.
you?
Well, okay, so I should say a transphobic caricature of a trans woman.
How is it
saying,
transphobic?
I trapped you. You're gay now.
No, he didn't say that, and even if he did, it's a fucking joke. It's a joke. Stop being...
Again, he wasn't convincing people that he was a trans woman and then revealing that he's a cis man. He was convincing people that he was a cis woman and then revealing that he's a cis man. There was a clear and obvious categorical distinction, right? So, if anything, the argument you would have to make, if you're going to go with this line of reasoning, would be a turf argument, which would be, this is a caricature of a cis woman. And obviously, you wouldn't want to go down that line of reasoning because that's just a transphobic line of reasoning of, well, you see. It's actually the case that if you're transitioning, because you're trying to pass, wouldn't that actually be sexist or misogynistic against women? Because it's actually a sexist characterization of women? It's literally the same line of logic.
Obtuse on purpose. Holy shit. You are trying to create... No, it's funny because even though Pollypeople is trying really hard to come up with like a literal straw man argument, even if the straw man argument is correct, and Finnster did say that, it still doesn't fucking matter because either way, it's a fucking joke. So even if...
Well, it's not on the basis of whether or not it's a joke, right? Like, jokes can hold meaning that are harmful, right? Like, so that's not necessarily the best argument from me, right?
Finnster's whole thing is, get it because I'm a trap, haha, ja, I'm laughing in Spanish, and you're gay, lol. It's like, I'm a femboy, but I call people gay all the time because it's funny.
This is true.
It's like, oh, you're gay now. Like, it's a joke. It's a fucking joke. Like,
Yeah, again, Like it's a matter of sexual ambiguity, right? So for instance, like if I guess now it's a little bit different because I'm a trans woman rather than a femboy. I guess I still kind of call myself a femboy, just just because why the fuck not? But yeah, I was laughing in Spanish. I don't know why I did that. It's something I still do occasionally, but not really.
Like, it's not meant to be taken seriously, okay? I make jokes about making people gay all the time.
This is a completely irrelevant side tangent from me, by the way. I don't think it matters whether or not it's a joke in this specific context. I mean, it can, but I don't think it's like a super important point. Like, the argument isn't over the proposition of whether or not this as a joke is harmful or not harmful on the basis of it being a joke, right?
That doesn't mean that it's meant to be taken seriously. I'm sure Pollypeople is very fun at parties, by the way.
And is clearly like doing it to appeal to transphobic sensibilities. And what
like,
makes it problematic?
Again, this is literally my 8th time doing a live stream, like the one we're reacting to, right? I've done like hundreds of live streams at this point. I think I've done like or not hundreds, but like I've done probably over 150 at this point of different live streams and whatnot. I wasn't that rhetorically advanced at the time, and I still come across as way more coherent and logical than Pollypeople. Polly looks fucking insane, and it's not just because Keffals is making her look insane. It's not just because I'm making her look insane. It's because she makes herself look insane when she acts like this. That's sort of one of the points I want to illustrate.
Is because he is not trans, and he.
Who gives a shit? And also, you don't know that. For all we know, Finnster could come out as non-binary in like
Fun fact, I think he came out as gender fluid. Again, I don't know for certain.
2 years, and you would have no way of predicting it.
Less than 2 years, actually.
So shut the fuck up and get off your high horse.
Doesn't suffer the consequences of those actions. Like, there's very
What consequences do you suggest there should be?
good reason to critique his behavior.
What is there to critique? Bro's just chilling and wearing women's clothing. What is the issue?
Yeah, she hasn't really established
on a
it.
Equitable sort of don't punch down sort of basis. Like,
What are you talking about? This has nothing to do with punching down. It is a guy whose entire shtick is subverting gender norms and gendered expectations and saying, oh, hey, you can identify however you want and dress however you want.
I think one of the main issues here is that Polly is so bad faith that instead of arguing with Keffals, she's arguing with the voices inside her head. I think that might be the issue.
That is the whole point. It's like, yeah, I'm a dude, but I wear women's clothing.
Polly is a femboy-averse radical trans. I mean, she comes across that way, yeah. But that's the thing is I brought this shit up in the live chat of one of her streams. She's like, what? No, I think femboys are actually based. And I'm like, okay, so what do you think your position entails?
It's like, yeah, it teaches people to think more critically about these things. It teaches people to, I don't know, be less judgmental and stop putting people into these fucking boxes that don't need to exist.
Again, yeah, this is a good argument from me in the past.
I want to know what Pollypeople thinks about gender abolition.
it seems.
Yes, this is actually something that I didn't even think of currently, because this is especially relevant due to the fact that I would presume, and I could be wrong on this, that Polly, considering the fact that she considers herself to be far left, and granted, she kind of is, I would assume she would be in favor of something like gender abolition. But a lot of the arguments she's made thus far would be arguments against it, if anything.
It's relatively obvious to me that, like, if you are in a more privileged position.
Also, I wanted to spell far. Oh, yes, you're right. Femboy-averse radical trans could be abbreviated to fart. Polly is, indeed, a fart.
Shut the fuck up.
Why is it acceptable for you to engage in behavior for clout and to grow your
For
platform?
clout? Okay, whatever. Even if that's the case, I mean, sure, maybe it's for clout. Who gives a shit? It doesn't matter. The outcome is still the same. It's a positive outcome. It's a net positive. Hateful people who hate queer people are not gonna watch Finnster and be like, yeah, this guy is fueling our transphobic tropes. Yeah, we like this guy. It's like, no, they're gonna see him as just as much of a degenerate as they would see the rest of us, okay? We are all equally degenerate in their eyes, okay? It doesn't fucking matter.
Now, what's interesting here is I wasn't like very experienced in terms of debate and whatnot. So rather than being extremely analytical like I am right now, you'll notice that these are very rhetoric oriented talking points. So it's a lot more similar to Vaush, for instance, in this older content than I would be now.
Platform in ways that are obviously going to have fallout with people.
Was that my stream? Oh, you subscribed. Congratulations.
Oh yeah, I think I think I had meant to turn that specific thing off simply because I don't need a notification every time somebody subscribes to the YouTube channel. I like when people subscribe, and if you're not subscribed, you absolutely should subscribe. But this is how you can tell that I'm fucking new to the stream.
Hello, skeleton. Drag me in quick, holy moly, so lag.
Holy thighs, yeah, that's an image of my thighs.
T for A
Oh my
dot
God, I'm
N
so
with
retarded.
squiggly line, N with squiggly line Y.
Jesus
Oh,
Christ.
the tranny word. Ooh. Failed man? Alright. Power zip. After I debate this fadgy
Oh God.
guy. Hey, let's debate. Are you still down to debate?
I don't think the debate ever
Alright,
happened. Let's skip
Call
this.
me when you are
This is
ready.
such a side tangent.
And then if this person doesn't call
I was
me,
so bad at streaming. Oh damn. It seems like oh wow. Oof. Yikes.
oh my god, this thing is very delayed.
Oof.
Wait, what the hell?
R.I.P.
What is happening? Is my stream okay? I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
This is an issue I still have, though I'm better at fixing it. Look, this is... Oh my god, my old channel layout. Sorry, this is a side
This
tangent.
stream is so far behind. Make sure to smash dislike on Pollypeople's video and smash like on mine.
Yo! The old fucking channel art! Dude! That's crazy. Oh my god. It feels so nostalgic to look at. Debate pervert? Yeah, I think I'm more of a debate pervert now than I was back. Actually, no. I was more of a debate pervert back then, but I'm better rhetorically now. I'm better at debate because I used to be a debate pervert, and I was for a while, and I did a lot of debates. Kind of. And also analyzed a lot of debates, so I guess there's that. But oh my god, the old channel art, oh my god. Ah! Sorry, I'm getting very nostalgic right now. Maybe one day I'll feel that exact way about my fucking current channel art. Like if we go over here, it's like, oh, this is just normal, but you know, maybe it won't be. Maybe this is going to be really nostalgic one day. Oh my god, this is when I only had 1.74k subs. Oh, this was when this was like the aesthetic of my channel. Oh, it's so nostalgic. Bathed in Adobe After Effects is so real. So real. Not Adobe After Effects, but yeah, whatever. Jeez.
Yeah. Smash like.
Oh,
Hell
so
yeah.
I had changed the title and thumbnail. Speaking of smashing like, y'all better smash the fucking like button. All right? Okay, past me is objectively correct about that, all right? I don't want to hear any contrary opinions, okay? If you haven't smashed like, you better fucking do so. With that being said, let's continue with this. Sorry for getting sidetracked.
Yeah. Oh my.
Oh,
Far behind. Rhetorical approach in the world.
shut up. I don't care. We get
I'm
it.
sorry.
Far more fucking far more marginalized than you, and far more subject to those same.
Oh, shut up. Stop playing fucking the oppression Olympics. Jesus Christ.
Is it really that different from now? Color scheme wise, yes, and in terms of the profile picture especially, yes. Though the banner art right now is derivative from the original banner art. I had changed it for a while, and then I was like, you know what? I want something kind of similar / reminiscent of like the good old days. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make something derivative of it.
Christ.
Sort of transphobic attacks without
I'm tempted to just be transphobic to this specific individual out of spite.
Look, it's tempting, but don't do that. Don't pull a Stardust, okay? Don't be like Stardust.
I have fucking morals and principles, so I'm not.
You fucking better not.
That is how much I dislike this person.
Okay, I will hold you to that past Femyoz.
Even, asking for it. People call me a trap, and I don't even have to, like,
Okay, Trap. I'm sorry. You asked for it. You fucking asked for it, okay?
Okay, that's kind of true.
I'm sorry. But by being this stupid, like, you are asking to get bullied.
do any trappy trapperson type shit that he
Okay, Trappy Trapperson, shut the fuck up. You're Trappy Trapperson now, alright? That's what I'm gonna call you.
Based?
Trappy Trapperson.
does.
Because you trap people into watching your videos, and then they don't make it out alive because they lose all of their brain cells.
This
and
is
then they
true.
are functionally dead. But
True.
Don't worry, guys. I have more willpower than most people. All right. I'm very strong. I have so many brain cells that just because of my massive, gigantic femboy brain, it'll take me a really long time to run out of brain cells. So that's why I can do this.
This is true.
Okay.
So he's making it easier for them to say, you're all traps anyway. You all look the same to me.
What? But they're gonna say that anyway. It doesn't matter. They're not gonna look at Finnster and be like, oh, see, they all look the same. They're gonna be like, it doesn't matter if Finnster exists or not. They're gonna be like, oh my god, these people are degenerate, and they're transing the kids and pushing the gay agenda. Do you think that comes from a place of a logic or reasoning?
So I understand the point that I'm making here, but I'd like to push back a little bit because at the end of the day, that's not the beginning and end of transphobia, right? Like transphobia is not exclusively that, right? Like that was like the predominant transphobic style of discourse at the time, and it still kind of is to this day. But in terms of actual transphobia that can take place, like that's not necessarily always going to be the case. Like there are going to be some people that are a little bit more moderate, like that are that you could still say, yeah, okay, they're transphobic, but at the same time, they wouldn't have that same style of rhetoric necessarily, and they could be persuaded.
Do you think it's something that Finnster is going to affect by simply existing and cross-dressing? Really, bitch?
Well, he actually would affect it, but in a positive way.
Really?
This is an easy argument.
Then why are you doing so fucking poorly?
No, I
Good
don't
question.
think that.
Honestly, it is an easy argument because Keffals is winning. Keffals is not particularly good at debate. She barely even does debate. Pollypeople, from what I understand, does debate. And when she's actually debating and not doing whatever the fuck unhinged shit this is, she's not even terrible. She could be better, sure, but she doesn't do a terrible job if she's not coming across as unhinged.
Like, I think that
All right,
regardless.
well, I
if
guess
Finn does what-
okay, I guess
What?
that's, like, what do you, okay, all right, I guess you don't think that, but that's not a response to the critique. That's not
There's no
Yeah, no, there's no critique.
critique!
helpful.
You haven't given a critique!
formulate my response.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Like her making a presuppositional statement or reiterating her proposition is not like a critique, right? It's just like a proposition, which in a vacuum or in of itself is not going to be sufficient, right?
Like, as I said, like, I think that transphobia is going to be a thing regardless of whether or not Finn does what they're doing, which has very little to do with the trans community.
Yeah, exactly. And whenever there is the topic of the trans community, it is putting the trans community in a positive spotlight, alright? Finn is very pro-trans.
This is
he's
also
made it
true.
very clear, okay? So, I don't want to hear any of that bullshit, alright? He's not going to lead anybody down the fucking alt-right pipeline, okay? If anything, all he's doing is leading, if anything, he's more likely to lead normies and centrists down the left-wing pipeline, if
I agree with this sentiment, but you could have articulated it faster and better.
anything. Because they might just watch him because he's entertaining. That's like
Keep in mind, we're watching this at 1.2 times speed now. I just increased it.
that's the reason why the majority of people who watch him is because he's funny. And because he's, let's be real, pretty damn hot, okay? So those are the two reasons people watch him. But
I agree, but please get better at articulating yourself. Oh wait, you did. That's where we are today.
you know,
Like, Finn's made it very clear, I'm not a trans person, I am just a cross-dresser.
yeah, that too.
Weirdly enough, one of your mods actually said, Finn isn't gender nonconforming, a cross-dresser, or a femboy. He isn't doing this because he likes to dress this way.
Yeah, that's fucking stupid. Who get like even if that's the case, that's
To be fair, that's an argument that Polly's mod would be making, so that wouldn't necessarily be indicative of Polly's position, right? Like, she might disagree with things that her mods say. Like, there are instances in which I've disagreed with mods in my chat about certain things, right?
Fucking bullshit argument. It doesn't change the outcome. It doesn't mean that somehow produces a negative outcome. And who are you?
Pollypeople is an insane racist. She's just insane in general. And I feel like she's capable of not being unhinged. So I don't know why she does this to herself. Because we're going to get into some instances of her coming across as reasonable.
Tell Finnster who he is or how he identifies. Who are you to tell him what his motives are? Fucking bitch.
She got rid of all of her mods because they told her to stop being racist, and she didn't want to listen, lol. Is it when she says shit like, she's in favor of, like, eliminating the white race? Is it when she says shit like that?
He doesn't dress this way unless it's for work.
Like, shut the fuck up. Like, who gives a shit?
Like, why is it that your community is trying to police a gender non-conforming person's expression?
Exactly.
So I think that this is a little bit of a distraction on Keffals' end. Like, I understand why she's bringing it up here, but I don't think this is the right move. Like, Polly is not making the arguments that people in our community are making necessarily. Now, you could ask Polly about it and say, someone in your community said this, do you agree with this? And if so, why? Right? So it could be a topic of discourse, but you shouldn't hold Polly accountable for things said by not Polly.
Exactly.
It's because she rips into black people? Wait, what? I would need to see evidence of this, but I don't disbelieve it.
Why is that okay?
Well, I could go back to what I just said. What's not okay is furthering transphobic tropes.
But nobody is doing that except for you. Because you are trying to police what other people wear when it doesn't fucking affect you. You.
Once again, I kind of agree, but at the same time, that's I haven't done a good enough job here explaining why that's the logical conclusion to what she's saying in this specific past stream, right?
Dumb bitch.
As an edgy way to grow your platform as a cis
So wait,
person.
you're just...
How is it even edgy, okay? I could understand you being like, you disliking my content and saying it's distasteful because I'm too edgy, but Finnster isn't even edgy. Like, that's like some normie shit, okay? Like, what? Like, he makes normie shit. Like, people videos that you can show to your grandchildren, okay? Maybe, well, I don't know. Maybe that, I guess not many grandparents are gonna watch it, but you get the point, okay? Well, I guess there's...
I get the point, but Femyoz from a year ago, you suck at articulating it. I'm sorry.
some sexually explicit stuff. But you know, like, in terms of, like, is it edgy or not? Like, the only instance of it being edgy, I guess, is if it's, like, sexually explicit. So are you against sex work or what?
I'm gonna completely ignore that it's like...
What are you talking about? Are you trying me to answer for somebody what somebody said? I mean, fuck, do you want me to go through every dumb fuck? I mean, I don't even think that's a bad point
It's your
necessarily.
mods.
But do you want me to...
Oh my, okay. And Polly is about to make a decent rebuttal to what Keffals is doing here, which is basically what I said, but she still comes across as unhinged because A, she's screaming like a fucking ape, and B, she's like, oh, well, you know, why are you holding me responsible for the things people say? I mean, actually, it actually wasn't a bad point. I actually kind of agree with it. But, like, why are you holding me? It's like, you would have to go with either one approach or the other approach and not come across as unhinged. Also, hello, Hoopty Scoopty. I'm Catholic now because mental illness. My condolences.
I think it's a
Do you
bad-
want
you
me
don't
to
think
go
it's a
through...
bad point.
Hold
You think
on.
that it's, like, okay
You
to-
want me...
God, she's so bitchy too. Pollypeople is actually so bitchy.
Yeah, exactly. Like, she almost made the first good point, and she ruined it by coming across as bitchy.
Like, she just exudes fucking hall monitor energy, okay?
This is true.
She is literally the definition of hall monitor. Like, I don't know what else to compare it to. She's like a fucking hall monitor.
Yeah, honestly, I see it. She's just a fake. Only goal is to clout chase and be the center of attention. Well, she is the center of my attention today. Of course, I don't have that much clout, so I guess she's not getting as much out of it. But she's still an interesting person to talk about, right? It's like a very niche internet personality. There's something interesting about it.
She's like a hall monitor named Karen, okay? That's what. Then again, I know there was a video about a bus monitor named Karen, and that Karen was actually really nice.
I agree, but shut up, no one cares.
But people were like, the kids were like saying some really nasty shit about her, and then it went viral because people were defending Karen the bus monitor.
Oh my god, you can tell I have fucking ADHD based on my mouse movements. I'm like spinning it around their faces. I'm like, as I talk. I still do that sometimes. I try not to, because I know it's probably annoying.
Karen the bus monitor is based, but this is Karen the hall monitor, who's fucking cringe, okay?
True.
Me to answer for everything that everybody has said that you've sort of said. Get the fuck out of here. Why don't you just sort of
wait, when did I say that?
Why
I
don't
never
you
said that.
Why
Why don't you jump off a cliff? Jesus Christ.
don't you
Okay, I disavow. I disavow.
engage
Why don't you get better at not having an annoying ass voice?
with what I'm saying?
Because what you're saying is a bunch of bullshit.
Or
True.
And she is engaging, but you're interrupting. So, but even if she wasn't engaging, I wouldn't fucking blame her. Because you're saying horse shit. You have said nothing of value, Pollypeople. You have said
This is true.
nothing of value or substance. You are an
True.
embarrassment. You are an embarrassment to the trans community, and you are an embarrassment to society in general. Nobody fucking likes you, alright?
I could
Fucking sitting here.
She might watch this. If so, hi Polly, stop being racist. Yeah, if you can send me instances of her being racist, add me on Discord, FEMYOZ, and I'll add you back in a bit. Did you call her voice clocky? No, I don't think I did that. I don't think I
You're
used that word.
saying that cross-dressing is transphobic. Like, I still don't understand how this can be a genuine position that somebody has. How the fuck is cross-dressing transphobic?
Okay, again, that's not her position. It's the logical conclusion to her position. Please stop saying it's her position in of itself, right? It's the conclusion to it.
Like you have to have, like you can't just have an...
And an unintentional conclusion at that. Okay, but is it really cool to be making fun of a trans person's voice? No, I wouldn't do it today. Though it's not on the basis of her being trans either. Like there's something specific about her voice that is kind of annoying, if I'm gonna be real.
a 0 IQ to have this position. Like, your IQ needs to be, like, in the negative hundreds, okay?
I could explain to you why that statement on Twitter may
Oh, yeah, we all love Twitter.
actually have some merit, but it's going to have to
I mean, that would explain a lot. If this person is, like, a Twitter addict, I mean, yeah, I could see that.
have a more nuanced discussion, but we can't
Yeah,
even
no, they're definitely a Twitter addict. And they're saying, oh, we could have a nuanced discussion. It's like, shut the
No, but I mean, like, we all know, you know? I mean, know what? That she's trans? Okay. Yeah, that's not, like, a secret.
fuck up. Like,
She's not immune to being made fun of because she's trans. There's also that. Like, I don't think that, like, whether or not something would be considered transphobic is necessarily what would determine whether or not I make fun of somebody for, like, their voice or whatever, right? Like, as long as it's something that's not, like, exclusive to trans people, right? Like, I don't really see the issue.
if you were actually, like, somebody who thought,
But I will say in general, though, I have tried to become a nicer person.
in terms of nuance, you wouldn't have this position in the first place.
get there when you are unable to accept that somebody who does transphobic tropes as a
But they're not transphobic, retard. Oh, shit, I said the Keffals word again. Oops.
I think Polly is one of those people that thinks if you reiterate an incorrect proposition over and over again, that people are going to believe that it becomes more correct each time you say it.
cis person has problematic content. Like if we can't
It's not problematic, though. It's a guy wearing women's clothing. There's nothing problematic, you fucking idiot. Jesus. Like, I don't... Like, what else am I supposed to say to that? Like, it's just bullshit. This person has provided no source, no evidence, nothing. Just making shit up. It's like trying to argue with someone claiming that there's a purple elephant in their backyard. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to do for a counter argument? Just, like, all I can say is, no, there's not an elephant in your backyard, idiot. That's all I can say, and then make fun of them. That's literally all I can do.
get there, then we're not even at stage one.
Well, I guess the approach I would take now, I mean, it could be that, but I would ask, what evidence do you have to support such a claim, right? You would lead with a question, right? Because the standard of evidence would be on them, because they would be making an affirmative propositional statement, etc.
One. Like you're just
Because you're wrong about it, Pollypeople. That's why.
you're sort of making yourself completely unable to understand the critique at all.
it
at that
gen-
point.
No, but you want to know why nobody understands the critique? It's because the critique doesn't make any fucking sense. You dumb bitch. There is no critique, okay? It's just you making shit up, making these obviously false assertions.
Conforming person cis? Where are we drawing the line on what cis is?
Finn is not a trans woman.
What if Finn is non-binary? Then what?
Finn is not going to be harmed by the furtherance, or at least will be far less.
Oh, that is fucking priceless. You think that there aren't people that will commit hate crimes against people that are like clearly just gay or gender non-conforming? You really think that that these people won't commit the same fucking hate crimes?
Yeah, this is literally not that much different from arguments I've heard fucking Rose Malay make. I used to mod for her, sadly. Was the only time the show was any good. Lol, the show was good at one point. She never provides evidence, lol, and okay, I will. I did a whole expose on her, making accusations about people with no proof. Damn. Thoughts on Slander Hall? Yeah, he's kind of cringe. He is, like, dumb. He has, like, low IQ. It's below average. El Bozo. That's my thoughts on him. Yeah, I don't know. I used to watch his content sometimes, but yeah, I mean, not anymore.
Because at the end of the day, if we are going to, which you have acknowledged the idea, if we are going to say that well, transphobes aren't going to be able to tell the difference between a trans woman and a gender non-conforming man because they see all of them as men, which you have said those words as well, and I agree with that, because they're transphobic, they don't see the difference, then why would they suddenly magically start seeing a difference when it's convenient for your argument? That doesn't make any fucking sense. They're not just going to see Finnster walking down the street, and then they're going to be like, and then, I guess they'd have to hear his voice to even know that he's not a cis woman at this point, because he passes pretty well as a cis woman. Not just as a trans woman, but as a cis woman.
So, I think what I'm struggling to do here is actually structure the argument, because it is kind of rambly, but in a bad way. That comes across as incoherent to some people, maybe, potentially. But essentially what I'm saying here, or I guess the argument that I'm making, is that if it's the case that transphobic people can't tell the difference between a man who cross-dresses and a woman, and a trans woman who dresses like a woman, if they don't make that categorical distinction, then why would they be more likely to hate crime a trans woman than a man who cross-dresses if they see them as the same thing? This doesn't make any fucking sense, right?
Looks like a cis woman when he cross-dresses. So they would have to hear his voice or something.
Yeah, like Finnster's not going to be walking down the street and then they're about to hate crime him, but then he's like, wait, no, you don't understand. I'm just a cisgender dude that's cross-dressing. And then the person about to commit the hate crime goes, oh shit, my bad, sorry, I thought you were trans. All right, I'll put the baseball bat down. All right, I won't beat the shit out of you. My apologies.
What do you think is going to happen? Are they going to be like, oh, hey, man, how do you identify? Do you identify as a man or a woman? And if he says man, they're like, oh, okay, you're just cross-dressing. Have a nice day. But then if you were to say woman, it's like, all right, time for me to beat the fuck out of you. Like, what is your point?
Okay, so I did end up doing a decent job explaining it at the end, but
harmed than trans people by the furtherance of transphobic tropes.
You haven't established a single transphobic trope. How is cross-dressing a transphobic trope? You are an idiot. You are an actual moron.
Okay.
That's the problem.
No, the problem is you and your lack of brain cells.
Okay, but does that make Finn cis?
Huh?
So like a non.
Okay, so
the crossdresser would agree with the conservative on their identity. I guess, yeah, but at the same time, like, that doesn't take away from trans people. Like, no matter what, conservatives aren't going to think that trans people are valid. Like, that, it's not something that validates the conservative position, right? It doesn't refute the conservative position necessarily in terms of gender identity. It does for gender expression, however. It is neutral in terms of how it impacts the conservative position on the identity aspect of gender, and positive in terms of the effects of how it impacts the conservative perception on gender expression, right? So it's generally a good thing. Polly looks more like a femboy than Finnster. Very AGP, many agree. Okay, look, I don't condone this. I'm not gonna support that, but That is a chat message.
Oh, so I don't know why you're playing word games with me here.
No one is playing word games. You're just fucking stupid.
I'm not playing a word
is
game.
not a trans person. Oh,
How do you know Finn isn't non-binary? Like, 2 years from now, for all we know, Finn could very well come out as non-binary, and I genuinely wouldn't be surprised if that happened. Then what? Then what would your argument be?
At the end of the day, it's just another example of me being right, considering the fact that we have reason to believe that Finnster is actually gender fluid now.
or at least
That was fucked up. Sorry, my little brother grabbed my keyboard. Whatever. All right. She looks like someone trying to fight Twink Death with all her... All right, well, let's not be too mean. Let's not be too mean, okay? I'm trying to be a little bit nicer, okay?
he's
never
not
said this.
not okay. Then what are you talking about then? I mean, are you trying to have it both ways
to
here?
define what cis is, because you're trying to use Finn as cis as a way to dismiss.
Yeah,
Finn.
but he says he's
By the way, I'm also an AGP hun, so I get the pass. Yeah, fair enough, I guess.
cis.
The John Swan defense.
Okay, who gives a shit? Maybe he's in the closet. Who knows?
He says he's cis, and he puts up on his and
Wait, so you acknowledge that he says he's cis? So then he's making the categorical distinction between himself and a trans woman. So then what's the issue?
the way he proves he's cis is he pins on his like Twitter or whatever. Here's my birth certificate, and I'm a man. Like,
Okay, so he says he's a man. Okay.
Yeah, he's saying he's a man and that he was assigned male at birth. He is saying, yes, I am a cisgender man. Here is also my birth certificate.
Who gives a shit? Why is that an issue? It's a guy that dresses like a girl. Who fucking cares? None of this is a real world issue, okay? This has nothing to do with transphobia. You are just trying to sit here.
She will use all the ad homs possible on you, will call you a deranged, mentally ill Vaush fan. Oh, I know for sure. Yeah, no, I agree with you. That is how she conducts herself. And normally I'm not somebody that's like, oh, you need to be the bigger person, right? But if I'm making content like this, where I'm literally nothing I'm doing is problematic, or could even be perceived as such, and I'm literally the most charitable, nice person disagreeing with her, she's gonna come across as unhinged every time she says shit about me. Otherwise, if we're both yelling at each other, like she's still gonna come out as the loser, but like not nearly as much, right? Like if I'm like clearly and unambiguously good faith, she's gonna come across the way she has in the Keffals debate. This is why Keffals did well. It's not that Keffals made riveting arguments that are insanely good that nobody could think of. It's just that she stayed calm and looked like a normal person and talked like a normal person the whole time while Polly was having a mental breakdown. So obviously people are going to side with Keffals by default, right? Like this is just optics 101. How would you feel about someone saying what Finnster does is misogynistic? Then since he's saying he's passing as cis. Yeah, exactly. This is what I was saying in like as a question that I would ask Pollypeople in this situation.
And I don't know if it's because you're trying really hard to be contrarian or some shit, or if you just want to be seen as this morally grandiose arbiter of truth or some shit. But at the end of the day, you just look fucking retarded. Oh, oops, I said the Keffals word again.
like one that has a two-prong effect. Is one, it says that I'm cis, but it also winks and nods to his trans audience. Look, I care about my son.
His trans audience? Okay, yeah, I actually, a big portion of his audience, I'm sure, is trans. And they all fucking love him, okay? I don't even know if I'm trans or not. I mean, I just don't care how people identify me. Like, if someone wants to say I'm a girl, I guess I'm a girl. If someone wants to say I'm a guy, I guess I'm a guy. If someone wants to say I'm non-binary, I guess I'm non-binary. To me, all of it means fucking nothing. It's all just a bunch of arbitrary, meaningless words.
And this is a valid way of identifying. Ultimately, this has changed for me, but I think that the reason that I deemed it to all be meaningless is because I was perceived colloquially in society as a man. So I decided, okay, well, if that's how people perceive me, then gender is meaningless because I don't want to be a man.
Because at the end of the day, you know, the only reason this discourse even exists in the first place is because we as a society have decided, for whatever fucking reason, that we need these boxes to...
That's why she freaked out so much when black trans people say she's doing racism. Yeah, that's what's weird about it. Yeah, she does that. Like, she morally grandstands, but then she does the thing that she is trying to criticize other people for doing that they're not doing. Like, she said that I'm a white supremacist Nazi for simply saying that it is physically possible to be interpersonally racist against any race of people, including white people. That's my controversial take. That makes me a Nazi, apparently.
To put people into. And
ruins her story of moral superiority. Yeah, literally.
And if there's somebody that doesn't fit into that box, that's scary. And ooh, spooky. Here is somebody that
woke on woke violence. This is true.
That doesn't fit into either box, or maybe they're in both boxes. Ooh, spooky. And it's like, how about instead of trying to put people into boxes, how about taking my approach and just not giving a shit? Like, can we just not give a shit about gender? Like, can we just, because, like, is it really a stretch for me to just say, fuck that, I'm above the concept of gender? Like, I don't even think that that's like a narcissistic or egotistical thing for me to say. Like, I genuinely believe that I am above the concept of gender, okay? It is useless, arbitrary nonsense. And personally, you know, I don't need people to validate my internal perception even, okay? I know who I am. I know what the fuck I like and what I don't like.
Oh boy, this kind of aged a little bit poorly. I mean, whatever. This is... A lot of this is coping with the fact that people perceive me as a man.
Like, and people can draw little imaginary boxes around me, but don't get fucking mad whenever I cross all of those imaginary lines. And obviously, if you make those lines visible to me, I will go out of my way to fucking cross them. Just
imagine actually thinking gender identity is when gender roles. That's what TERFs think trans people think. Yeah, no, that, like, there's, like, obviously, like, a categorical distinction between gender identity and gender roles and gender expression. I can't be racist to white people or pretend Mexicans like Polly. What? Wait, what's this? Did Polly say racist shit about Mexicans?
so you know.
Sign gender at birth just like you do. Like, I mean, like, you can't, I mean, come on. Like, are we going to be stupid and just sort of like...
The only one that's...
I also feel like when it came to, like, her saying I'm a white supremacist, I feel like I was super charitable. Like, I was, like, trying to, like, interpret it as, like, okay, well, maybe we just, like, define terms differently. Like, when I talk about, like, racism, right? Like, I can break it down into, like, interpersonal and systemic racism, right? So it's going to be the case that, like, in this country and Western society broadly, right? Like, in terms of systemic racism, it doesn't really apply to white people negatively. Like, it doesn't harm white people, right? But interpersonal racism, because it's at a micro level, could be applied to anybody, right? Similarly, if there's, like, say, I don't know, like, whatever, if you're in China, right? You could argue that there's some level of Chinese supremacy in that country, right? So again, it's gonna be entirely relativistic to the systems that you operate in, right? It's not that there's anything intrinsic about the skin color or the genetics themselves, right? It's about the societal structures. And if we're talking about interpersonal interactions, it could be the case that interpersonal interactions are influenced by societal structures, but they're not solely contingent upon societal structures, right? So that's why it's possible to be interpersonally racist to anybody, right? All that would boil down to is causing harm to somebody deliberately on the basis of their skin color, right? For example, right? That's not the end all be all for racism interpersonally, by the way, right? But that would be like an example of it, and that could be applied to anybody, right? A black person at an all-black school, or like a mostly black school, could beat up a white person on the basis of them being white. That is logically possible. Now, if there's like a good counter argument to that, then I'll listen to it. That depends on your definition of interpersonal racism. Yeah, and that's what I was saying. I'm like, my definition could be wrong, but Pollypeople didn't explain that ever, right? Like, if she wants to educate me on why my definition is wrong in her worldview, like, I'd be more than open to hearing like an explanation for that, but she never gave one. Instead, she just continued saying I'm a Nazi, which doesn't, it's like, oh yeah, oh, the reason it's wrong is because Pollypeople thinks this is a Nazi position. Better change my position. I don't deal with definitions. I prefer equations and data. Data shows white people like Polly enjoy harassing black people and get money from doing it. Damn. That's kind of fucked up. And no, she'd rather hurl ad-homs. She was way too scared to talk to me on stream. Yeah, that's the other thing I noticed. She'll, like, respond to my chat messages by doing a funny voice, but she, A, doesn't respond to the actual logic and reasoning of my arguments, and B, she'll just throw labels at me without explaining why they are valid. She'll just be like, well, this position means that you're a white identitarian, which makes you a white supremacist, which makes you a Nazi. That's like, whoa, hold on, slow the fuck down. Talk about the logic of my position, not the labels you associate with it. But she can't do that. That would require her to actually engage in some sort of discussion, right? Now, if she believes that that interpersonal and systemic racism are so intertwined that they ought to not be categorically distinguished, as in interpersonal racism is contingent upon systemic racism because we're all products of our environments and whatnot, then I guess she could make that argument and say, okay, well, but even then, it's like if we're talking about like a vacuum scenario where it's like, which would be applied to an interpersonal situation, I feel like that could be applied to anybody, right? Or does she define interpersonal racism as simply reinforcing systemic issues in terms of race at an interpersonal level? And if that's the way she defines it, that's fine. I guess we have different definitions, right? But that's not the argument she made. She understands race way less than she thinks, don't even stress. Yeah, it's like, and that's just me steel-manning her position as well. There were several people that she mocked and kicked out of her community for being, quote, racist, but I was able to talk to them and help them understand, and they are still on my server. Yeah, exactly. Like, she's not willing to do that. Just joined, what's going on? Yeah, long story short, Pollypeople is a big poopy head. Anyways, that's a very big side tangent considering the thing that we're reacting to. In terms of the discourse at hand, in terms of reacting to my old content. So, let's continue.
Stupid as you.
Let him have it both ways just because he's a large content creator.
Because he's a large
No, I'm not being stupid.
I mean, I hate being dogpiled as much as the next person, right?
Yeah, well, you deserve to be dogpiled. Unironically. Like, genuinely, if y'all want to fucking dislike this video, this fucking anti-femboy propaganda shit, feel free to dislike this. I don't fucking care. I disliked the video myself. Okay? Also, make sure to leave a like on my stream, okay? Yeah, this person, this dumb bitch right here, deserves to get dogpiled for this. Because the only one that's transphobic is this motherfucker right here. This is the transphobic person, okay? This person, I mean, as far as I'm aware, they haven't explicitly stated it, but they seem to be anti-non-binary.
I mean, she's not, and I think that's like a little bit of a leap in logic on my end. Like if I'm being entirely good faith, then obviously I'm not going to come to that conclusion. Because I guess she hasn't really stated what her position on non-binary is, right?
And anti-gender non-conforming. You do realize that gender non-
Don't know the rest, but left a like on your stream. Base, let's go. W.
Conforming is a part of it goes in the non-binary umbrella. You know that, right? But like that's
it could be categorized that way, but I would say that that's not the case because non-binary refers to a specific type of person that's under the trans umbrella, right? And if we're talking about a gender non-conforming person, it's going to be the case that their identity is still going to be cisgender, right? Like they're not trans in any way. So if they are cisgender, then it is definitionally impossible for them to be transgender, and so therefore they wouldn't be categorized as non-binary, right? They would be categorized as their gender assigned at birth, but their the way they dress and perhaps some of their behavior wouldn't be aligned with that. But that wouldn't be non-binary in terms of like the way we categorize them.
Part of the trans umbrella, as in that's part of the trans community. So those people might not.
No, it's adjacent to it, but it's not part of it necessarily.
Be trans women, but they are people that cross-dress.
I think part of the reason I conflated these things at the time was A, I was new to this style of discourse, and B, because I thought I was a femboy and turned out to be trans. So a lot of that was going to be skewed by how I identified myself at the time.
And they are valid.
Like,
overall decent sentiment though in terms of them being valid.
It's like you're willing to, with your community and your mods.
Like, you can be gender non-conforming as any gender you want. Like, I don't see why there's an issue with that.
Those are your mods.
To be fair, that wasn't directly the point she was making. I think, again, I failed to distinguish between talking about the logical conclusions of somebody's argument or the logic that she uses and how it could be used to argue for that, right? Rather than just saying that's her proposition when it's not, right? Like, I guess I'm not saying specifically this is your proposition, but like that is the logical conclusion, right?
Who are just like, okay, I can police the
her mod. I don't know what's more embarrassing, her or her mods. I think she's probably the worst.
behavior of gender non-conforming people.
I do think that Keffals probably shouldn't have kept bringing up the mods. She's not personally responsible for her mods, right?
It's complete.
I mean, she is to an extent, but again, if they make bad arguments, that's not her fault, and she shouldn't have to address them necessarily, right? Like, I could understand Keffals bringing them up and being like, okay, is this something you agree with? What's your take on this, right? Rather than asserting that this must be congruent to Pollypeople's position or something that she believes or would argue personally.
Completely okay to do. And when I asked you about this, you just get angry and say, oh,
Well-
you think I can police everything? You think that I can just control everything? But it's like, no, these are the people who moderate your community. You have a responsibility for that. They
Yeah, no, this is a dog shit point from Keffals.
represent
Well,
you.
okay, but hold on a second.
Like, this has nothing to do with the proposition. Literally nothing. So, Keffals L, simply because it has nothing to do with the proposition at hand. Like, whether or not Finnster is, quote-unquote, promoting transphobic tropes literally has nothing to do with whatever the fuck deranged Pollypeople mods are saying. Like, it literally has no bearing.
Second.
Like, I'm sorry, but I don't care what HasanAbi daily has to say on the matter. I'm sorry.
Like, the essential argument here is not changed, and that
There's so much drama with that mod. Polly jumped in because she wanted to, but now she also dumped that mod and did a hate stream about her as well. That doesn't surprise me.
tweet is essentially in line with what I'm saying. Like, you can't.
How old is this person? Like 55, 60?
A little uncharitable, but I see it.
And they act like this? Like they've got to be 50s, right? 50-year-old mother of 3 maybe.
I'd say 40 to 50, probably. Right? I could be wrong.
Had lung cancer at some point. Yeah, that's my interpretation of this.
Saying that
You
Finn
can't
is
hold
not
that-
Of this creature, this cretin, this disgusting malformed piece of shit.
a cross-dresser.
Could you let me?
That one's even worse. HasanAbi daily. Never met them, but they act like they know personal info about me. Yeah, I just remember seeing them in Polly's chat and just thinking that it was funny that was their name.
Finish. The essential problem, like, whether or not he's a cross-dresser is saying he's not a cross-dresser.
Jesus Christ. I feel like I'm gonna start towing the line of what's.
Yo, old you was kind of crazy, but yeah, 40 probably. Yeah, should I go back to insulting people? I don't know. I'm definitely not going to do it to the extent I used to, but occasionally it can be fun. I feel like I'm missing out a little bit. I guess sometimes I still do. I'm just like I just toned it down a little bit because I feel like I did it too much, even though it was entertaining. I want to have points that are taken more seriously, right?
What's okay according to YouTube TOS. I'm trying very hard to not say certain things.
By the way,
Okay, I get where I'm going with that, but I've never liked saying, "Oh, there's things I would say, but TOS doesn't let me." It's like, shut up. No one cares. Just don't say it then.
I assume the sentiment behind that is that what he's doing is essentially appealing to the transphobic sensibilities of the.
No, he's actually doing the opposite. Because transphobic people don't like cross-dressers either. They think all of it is the same, and they think all of it is degenerate. That is their position.
I feel like old me was basically just like an edgier version of Vaush in terms of my rhetoric. It was actually kind of based, but sometimes I got into trouble because of it, and sometimes it was bad optics.
Finnster deliberately goes against that position, and yet you are saying that he is in favor of that position, which is fucking stupid. Because you are fucking stupid, Pollypeople. You are an idiot. You are actually brain dead.
The average person, and further
And you're a terrible person, too.
transphobic tropes for content. That's
Bit of a stretch based on how little information I had about her. One shit take I don't think is enough to indicate that somebody's a shitty person. Edgier than tactical N-word Vaush? Oh, you have not seen my old content, have you? You have not seen my old content. Tactical N-word Vaush is about the edgiest he's gotten. I'd say that I've been edgier than that in the past. And additionally, I have done that specific thing that Vaush did. Not in that same scenario. I said the N-word in the context of making a linguistic claim. The overall premise was that it's not the syllables being pronounced that makes it wrong. Here, I'll say it, and then I said it, right? So I did that because I was arguing that, okay, it's because it conveys some sort of meaning, but the meaning of me saying it right now is me saying that it's not the syllables. So that in of itself wouldn't be why it's problematic. So I was explaining what the actual harm is of the N-word in under most circumstances and why generally you shouldn't say it. But I was also making the argument that it's not that the word itself is ontologically evil. A word is just a series of syllables that we assign meaning. That was the point. Say it now then? I'm not going to anymore. Not because I'm unwilling to say it, by the way, but just because I don't want the YouTube algorithm to fuck my channel up, right? I want to get remonetized at some point, you know? I don't want to fuck my chances.
That's not what cross.
You're dishonest, delusional, and a terrible fucking person, okay?
I'd also like to clarify that me saying that was followed up by 50 clarifying statements to make sure that nobody in my audience would take it the wrong way or think, oh, I guess this is a green light for me to say the N-word whenever I want. One time a white lady tried to get away with it by saying a title of some book in the 70s I've never heard of. I almost slapped her. Yeah, again, it's going to be context dependent. Like, you shouldn't say it all willy-nilly. It's all, okay, it's also going to depend on, like, whether or not you say the ER ending or the A ending. Like, the ER, like, if you say it hard R, like, that's 5 trillion times worse. Physical violence for slurs, though, depends on the context. And also, I disagree. I don't know, it depends on the context. I'm not, personally, the reason I don't say that word, even in the context of making a linguistic claim at this point, not that I disavow that specific usage, is simply because other people take it the wrong way. So even though I use it responsibly, people take that, they don't understand the point I'm making, and then they see it as a green light for them to use it incorrectly. Rap song context? Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I make that distinction, by the way. If somebody is literally just singing along to a rap song or whatever that has the N-word in it, it's never going to be the hard R. It's always with the soft A, right? And I think that if it's in the context of singing a song, I feel like because you're simply quoting what somebody else said, and it's obvious that you're quoting what somebody else said, and nobody is going to interpret it as anything other than them quoting somebody else in terms of what the actual intention is, then I think that that's acceptable. I only ever use the ER. Why would I use A? I can speak proper English, and no black person ever really notices. That's interesting. I mean, I guess that's up to you. I don't really think that there's necessarily a such thing as proper or improper English in that sense, right? Like, I don't think that using the A ending is improper English is what I mean by that. Like, I think it's just like a different version of the N-word. Do black people use the ER commonly? I don't think so. I think sometimes they might, but I don't really hear it in rap songs. I think there's like usually a distinction there. I don't know. Like, I guess I'm not like the ultimate arbiter of the distinguishing between the soft A and the ER. But yeah, I think that there are a few points you could make in either direction, I guess. I'm not really one to decide that. Not because I think that the validity of my opinion is contingent upon like whether or not I'm a part of a certain community or whatever, but simply because I just don't have enough knowledge on the subject. Whenever I'm singing along to Kanye and it comes up, I just say N-word. Yeah, and that's like probably like the safest bet. Like there's like that if you want to avoid people taking it the wrong way, then it's been my take forever. Lol. if I say it, I wouldn't notice either. It's not that I put an accent on it. Well, yeah, I mean, people use words to communicate information at the end of the day, and I think that ultimately, if it's obvious what somebody is trying to communicate, I think that's what you should go off of, right? Like, again, like the example I always bring up, and this is why I did it one time, but I don't repeat myself because I don't feel the need to. But I reference the time that I said it in the context of making a linguistic claim as like the one of the only instances in which it's acceptable, right? Smaggle said you wanted to debate Chud. Is this true? I wouldn't be opposed to it. I don't know what Chud disagrees with me on. I'm not familiar with Chud's content.
Okay.
Professors do.
Anyways.
And you're also fucking. You look nasty as fuck.
Professors.
Like, damn. I was so mean.
Does she have Raynaud's syndrome? Like, her hands are purple. I'm not saying that as like a diss, because like whenever I'm cold, my hands get a little bit purple. I don't know if you can.
Maybe if you had other presets besides the two, this one and this one being without the fucking rectangle, by the way, which makes it aesthetically less pleasing without it. Maybe you'd be able to fucking move the thing over to the side a little bit, or make it disappear entirely to show her hands, you fucking idiot, because your thing is covering it. You moron.
I mean, they're a little bit purple right now because my room is freezing, and I don't want the space heater to have background noise. That's not even like a diss.
Dress.
Saying the word just to be edgy is kind of problematic. Under most circumstances, I agree. Like, I'm not gonna make like an end-all be-all statement about that. Like, I think if you're saying it like with your friends, and like you know what your friends believe, and it's like private, I feel like that's different. But I've definitely changed my position somewhat in terms of saying it publicly. Like, I think under most circumstances, like, you shouldn't, because again, jokes like that might be used as a green light to say other things that aren't really jokes. And that's something I've sort of shifted over time in terms of what my position is. Yeah, I don't know. I do think that sometimes the harm can be overstated, but it's not something that I don't think it's good to say the N-word without knowing why you're saying it. If that makes sense. Like, if you're making an edgy joke, like, there's a time and a place for that, but you have to know your audience, know that they're not going to take it the wrong way, and you also have to understand the point of the joke, I guess. I'm just being pedantic. I just have a specific dislike towards AAVE, and it's a great position to have with these online white people during their debates. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a problem with AAVE. Like, I've never like, it's not personally how I speak, but that's just because I wasn't raised that way. So I don't know. I can't really comment on it. It's just like another way of communicating information, the point of the English language, or any language for that matter.
Though her fingers do look quite chubby and like it looks like.
I love the juxtaposition of me now, like trying to be like super nice or whatever and good faith, and it's like, and then we play an old clip of me and it's like me talking about how chubby her fingers are. Jesus Christ.
I don't know.
Gender non-conforming ways and play with gender because they are expressed.
They look like. Yeah. Okay. I need to stop being too mean.
They're not trying to grow their platform at the expense of more
I like how I say that I need to stop, but then I keep doing it.
marginalized people.
No one. It's not at the expense of anybody, idiot.
Right, just to sort of say, Polly, you're trying to police people's.
Yeah, because you are, idiot. That's literally what you're doing, is you're trying to police people's clothing decisions.
No, so the reason that this is not a good statement to make from me, even though that is the outcome, or the logical conclusion, is that's not actually what she's personally trying to do, right? So if we're talking about like her internal logic, like, she doesn't believe that that's what she's doing. She doesn't believe that that's her position, right? It could be the logical conclusion to her position, but that's not her position. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry about getting sidetracked. It's just whenever the ethics of saying the N-word come up, I get very passionate, you know? It's a very interesting discourse. That's very controversial, you know? For Destiny, it was incest debates. For Vaush, it was CP debates, and for me, it's N-word debates. I figured it out. I know which debate is the one for me. Which terminally online useless discourse is specific to me and how I'm debate-brained? It's the N-word discourse. I'm a fucking genius. Because, okay, when it comes to the N-word discourse, it's so fun to have. It's like, okay, so who's allowed to say it? What if you're 50% black and 50% white? What if you're like a different race, like I don't know, like Mexican? Are you allowed to say it? What if there's like a percentage of like, let's say you draw the line at, okay, if you're like 12.5% black and 25% black and 75% white, that's the threshold for whether or not you can say it. So anything under 25% black in that case is not viable. But what if you're 24% black and 76% Mexican? Then are you allowed to say it? Or what if you're like, again, like, what is it contingent upon? Everyone does that. I use hard R, but for white people, it's even bad to quote soft A, N-word in MLK speeches, unquote. Everyone does that. Racism sells, and that's my entire point. That's what Polly tried as well. Yeah, literally. If you're literally reading like something that a black person wrote, like I'm sorry, but like if they say the N-word, especially if it's with a soft A, like I shouldn't have to like not say the quote. Like if I'm literally saying what they said, I'm just communicating their information that they wrote down verbally. I wouldn't see the issue with that, because that's not me saying it. That's me using my mouth, my vocal cords as a medium to allow them to communicate information that they wrote down verbally. So you would want to make it as accurate as possible to what they wrote. You should not say the quote. For optics reasons, you could make an optics argument for not saying it. But I also think that the harm is overstated in doing so. Now, the reason I don't say it, mainly because YouTube algorithm be like, bruh. But if you say the quote, I don't think that that's the same thing as saying it under other circumstances, to say the very least. Again, and this is such a hot take. I got called the soft N-word by PresidentSunday and doxxed and kicked out by a bunch of communities. The harm is that some white people get angry and violent. Yeah, and obviously, like, that's not something that I don't know if PresidentSunday did that or not, but I'm going to take your word for it, at least in the context of this conversation, and say that, yeah, if that happened, like, that's fucked up. Like, you shouldn't do that. Like, you should, like, that's the thing. You shouldn't be, that doesn't sound like PresidentSunday. I would need to know the context fully, but if that caused you to get doxxed and get kicked out of a bunch of communities, and he called you that, that's not okay. Like if you're saying it derogatorily, especially, but like that's never okay. I don't watch Destiny. Did he defend incest? Kind of, but like not because he's actually in favor of incest. He was just making arguments for like a niche hypothetical scenario in which it's okay to say, right? That's what I mean when I say it's like inconsequential debate bro shit, right? It's literally the same thing with like me and like, okay, but what about a hypothetical scenario in which it's okay for a white person to say the N-word? Here's one that I was able to manage doing. Anyways, I'm sorry. But yeah, it goes back to people not wanting to just chat. Yeah, literally. Like, that's the thing, is like, you can't label somebody as something as your argument and expect them to change their position. It never works. It never will work. It's like every bad lefty stereotype encapsulated in one person is Pollypeople.
Because you're a moron, and a dumbass, and an authoritarian. You are literally an authoritarian who doesn't think that people have the right to wear whatever the fuck they want. You are no-
Again, that's what our position entails, but that's not necessarily the position in of itself.
No better than any right-wing fascist. You are no different from Matt Walsh. You are the same, except you have a left-leaning, morally grandstandy aesthetic. That is the only difference. You are just as much of a hateful bitch as... well, actually, no, you're more of a hateful bitch than Blair.
This isn't the best argument from me, but it is rhetorically effective. The horseshoe theory argument works every time. Not logically, but rhetorically. You called her a fascist? Did I? I mean, she would do the same thing to me, so... I guess that's bad faith on my end, but at the same time, you know...
Blair White. Blair White is just dishonest. I would say you're probably... Who's more hateful? Pollypeople or Ben Shapiro? Probably Pollypeople, because Ben Shapiro's a grifter.
I was literally just about to say the same thing.
I'd say she's not... she's better than Steven Crowder. There. I'll give her a little bit of credit. Wow, good job. You're better than fucking... Steven fucking Crowder. That is the bar we have set. Because, oh my god, this is a fucking embarrassment.
Presentation is incredibly bad faith.
Presentation is incredibly bad faith? Really?
Well...
It's just two completely different arguments you're sort of smashing together.
I think that calling them arguments is way too charitable. Keffals is being way too fucking nice. To this dumb, nasty, hateful, disgusting cretin, okay?
I mean, I don't entirely disagree, but it is good to be good faith for optics reasons, if nothing else. And because the intellectual honesty wins every time. Usually. Again, not always. Again, I always bring up the example of, okay, yeah, if let's say you live in Nazi Germany and then there's a Jewish person hiding on your attic, and then the Nazi officer knocks on your door and then asks you if there's a Jewish person hiding in your attic. Obviously, intellectual honesty is not the way to go in that case, right? But generally, it's going to be the case that intellectual honesty just wins in general, especially when discussing ideas. What makes you think that Ben Shapiro is a grifter? Do you really not think he believes what he says? I believe that he thinks that he's right about some stuff, that he believes some of the things he says, but yeah, no, I mean, I genuinely believe that that all of the people at the Daily Wire are, for the most part, grifters. I think that there's like they do genuinely believe some stuff, but it's more about sticking to certain ideological positions and pushing certain rhetoric rather than being intellectually honest.
Well, no, that's what you're doing. So like,
bro, can you stop talking like you smoke 50 cigarettes a day? Or maybe she does. Well, please stop. Smoking is bad for you.
This is true. Don't smoke.
How am I doing that?
Well, you're having a difficult time trying to...
Bro, seriously. You gotta stop smoking, alright?
Trying to, like, explain why furthering transphobic tropes is not...
Shut the fuck up. No one is furthering transphobic tropes. The only one who's furthering transphobic tropes is you. You make me want to be transphobic because you are doing... like, you are... If I was still a conservative and I saw this, you know what this would do? This would reaffirm my position against trans people. This is true. Feed into my confirmation bias of, yes, all of these people are fucking insane. And I would genuinely think that. And I would genuinely think that this dumb bitch over here represents the left. She doesn't, by the way. I represent the left a lot better than she does. Because I actually make smart arguments.
I make smart arguments. Femyoz 2023. Or was it 2022? It was 2023. February 2023. Okay. Yeah, no, that... Okay, maybe I was a little bit ignorant at the time in terms of how much I could improve rhetorically, but in terms of like the foundational logic and reasoning of most of my arguments, it wasn't bad. It was better than Pollypeople, so I guess if that's the standard, yeah, I don't know. It just sounds retarded.
And use common fucking sense. And when
No, don't use common sense as a standard. That's what right-wingers do, you fucking idiot.
whenever I have a debate with someone, I bring up facts, logic, statistics, etc. Instead of just asserting random shit.
That bad, and the only thing you're saying is I disagree and you can't prove that.
Alright, prove that there's no purple elephant in my backyard. Again, the burden of proof is on you. Fucking
This is
tomato,
true.
alright? Fucking hell.
Which is wrong, and you...
But the burden of proof is on you. It's not that it's transphobic until we prove that it's not transphobic. You have to prove why it is transphobic.
Again, I think that what we have here is we mainly, have like a reiteration of all of the same fucking points over and over again. So what I want to show, I'm not going to watch nearly as much as this, not even close. I want to show part of the stream where I go over Pollypeople accusing me of being a white supremacist Nazi. Yep, that is an actual accusation that she has made about me, funnily enough. Yeah, basically, it's me arguing with her, but I'm in chat. And let's see how good she is at creating good faith arguments.
You should get on the Pollypeople train, really, but you know you're not going to because you want to be you're extra committed to white supremacy.
Right off the bat with, oh shit, I'm wearing the same shirt. This was not intentional, by the way. It might actually be the same outfit. That was not, I did not plan that. Literally no evidence, just accusing me of being a white supremacist, straight up.
Do white people experience racism? Yeah. Hey, we're going a little.
Do they experience racism? Well, generally no. But the question that she's about to ask isn't that. It's a different question. Because generally I would agree. White people tend not to experience racism.
Part of the Proud Daughter of Skyrim, yeah. Proud Daughter of Skyrim in the chat. Yeah. True.
I need to take a piss. So I'm going to be right back, pull a Hasan on myself. And then I'll be back. And then I'll probably, that'll probably be like this segment, probably. I just want to show this. I need to pee. So I'm going to steal my own content in the process.
True Daughter of Skyrim. White before trans, that's how it is. Look, if you're a Vaush enjoyer, Keffals enjoyer, if you're a white trans person, you are always white before trans. That's the argument right there. And, well, okay.
What does it mean to be white before trans? Why would somebody's whiteness supersede their trans? Like, this doesn't make any fucking sense.
It's the assertion of truth. If you wanted to debate me on something, you could have chosen that. Instead, you made up an argument.
All right, I'm willing to debate you on that.
Okay, so if you want to have a good faith debate with me, I'm willing to do so. But go on, keep saying I'm a white supremacist with no...
Okay.
You know she's making a really good argument when, and being very good faith when she uses that voice. Incredible.
It's how it goes. Okay. All right, hey, Femyoz, I'm sorry. I didn't mean...
Femyoz, that's how you pronounce my name. Incredible. The best pronunciation of Femyoz.
You forgive me? Wait, will you forgive me? Will you forgive me? I didn't mean to accuse you of something. Let me just ask you a question. The evidence is...
Yeah. I ended up forgiving her, but then she continued to be bad faith.
You're a Vaush. Yeah. Let me ask you a question though. Look, you can clear this up. With just a simple answer. Is there such a thing? Is there such a thing as anti-white racism? Is that
anti-white racism technically can exist. It's just not very common.
Something that ever happens? Does it exist?
Not very often, but it can, technically speaking. And right here in chat, you can see me being kind and saying, sure, I'll forgive you.
Sure, I'll forgive you. Sexy lady day music. Calling yourself a Vaush it. Vaush is already evidence of harboring whites. Yeah.
Of course. Being a fan of Vaush is such amazing evidence of somebody being a white supremacist. Incredible.
True. It's true. If you call yourself a Vaushite, my guess is you're a white supremacist. To be fair.
Yeah. That's totally not fucking unhinged.
But you know what? Not all Vaushites are, well, we'll just assume for the imagine saying I'm more of a Vaushite.
Time for a good faith debate. I don't agree with everything Vaush says, bro.
So here's what I say in chat. Anti-white racism is possible, but not a real-world issue or something that exists systemically like anti-black racism. So right off the bat, I think I make a fairly decent point. Yeah, literally. Even if she disagrees with the way I'm defining it, why doesn't she just say that? She can't do that. Hasan, when streamers play their own content when they go pee or make food instead of stealing other people's content. Yeah, literally. Like, so now, if I'm reacting to a specific video from somebody else, like, I'll do the same thing, but then I make up for it by talking for another 5 trillion hours, because I can do that. Where I, right off the bat, categorically distinguish between interpersonal versus systemic racism. Yeah, so there's, like, a clear way that I'm defining it, right? And she's not engaging with that at all. She's just saying labels. Interpersonal racism can be applied to anybody, right? For instance, if there are, let's say there's an all-black school, but then there's one white kid that goes there, right? And the white kid gets treated like shit on the basis of their skin color. Yeah, now I already brought this up. I wanna hear what Polly says. Not what I said. At no point did I say, hold on, did I play a clip? Here we go. Plausible for it to happen. Let's see what Pollypeople has to say.
To be fair, I don't really like him that much.
Anti-white racism is possible, let's go! Okay, so you're a white supremacist.
So apparently that's the conclusion she draws, is that I'm a white supremacist. She later calls me a Nazi. And it's disappointing because, yeah, oh, I think this is the part where she calls me a Nazi.
That is white identitarianism at its most pure. it's kind of Nazi, right? It's kind of like you might not know that you're a Nazi, but you are.
I love how after that I did that whole spiel and we're getting back on topic. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. Of course, I got sidetracked in the process of doing that stream, as per usual. But I just wanted to make it clear that, like, she still acts this way. Like, she's really bad faith. Either she's not improved at all, or if anything, she's gotten worse. She's either the same or worse. She's definitely not better. Now, what's interesting about that is it seems like whenever she can do okay in debates. So I found this one instance of her actually not doing terrible in a debate. It was a debate with Lonerbox, where somebody else was analyzing the debate. No comment chick. I don't really know much about this person. I found them today because of this specific video. So I want to show you, like, Pollypeople isn't incapable of constructing good arguments, right?
He's being more or less.
And she can come up with arguments that make her look fine, solid, good at debate. She's not physically incapable.
Friendly here, right? Contrast that with the fact that he just tried to get Polly banned.
The things that you should do in self-defense are
Is
things
run.
that you're not
Is
willing
run.
to say this.
No, well, okay, well, one, I don't want to violate terms of service. Oh, hey, so what's up?
What is
Hi,
Lonerbox's
my name is
threshold?
Polly. It's nice to speak to you.
Nice to see you too.
I was just talking to my people here.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all right. I thought you were. I was trying to call you, then I realized you were in the weight room. So.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. Well, I appreciate that. I haven't seen that much. People just came into my... I just went on stream. People were like, Lonerbox is saying there's not a trans genocide.
Polly fell out with no comment chick after calling her a deranged cult leader. Of course she burnt the bridge. What could I fucking expect? Was her last streamer friend? Damn. Like, I feel like she could have built a bridge with me. That's the thing. Because, like, obviously she would have no reason to believe this about me or know this about me. But I'm willing to be friends with way more people than most other content creators. Like, I don't care if you're like an optics nightmare. I don't care if you've said controversial shit I disagree with in the past. Whatever. Like, I'm the opposite of that. Like, I don't give a shit, right? As long as you're like a good person at heart and you're a good person now, right? And you have good intentions, that's all that really matters. Polly could have easily built a bridge with me. It's not that she's unaware that I'm another content creator. She knows that I have, you know, a small audience, but an audience nonetheless. It's not really any smaller than her audience, right? So it's like, not only does she burn every bridge, but she also doesn't learn from it. She continues burning bridges before they can even be built, which is unfortunate because the smartest thing she could do when I criticize her on whatever, or ask her about a position that she's held, about Finnster, is to operate in good faith, knowing I'm a content creator, and that the outcome won't necessarily be hostile, and that if I disagree with her on stuff, maybe if she has the correct positions, she can argue me out of them. I don't know why she didn't take that approach. She's okay at talking but does everything for money. That doesn't surprise me. Remember through all of this that she refused to have any conversations with black people in her community after calling them dangerous, deranged, psyops, her and her friend harassing them on stream? Damn. I don't even like NCC that much, but damn, she doesn't lead a cult. I was surprised when I found out she still has moles in her shrinking community. Yeah. She's the rape hun getting boners in a women's bathroom. All right, that might be a little far. That might be a little far. Okay, you know what? Look, I can't. Yeah, look, normally I don't like promoting that style of rhetoric, but goddamn. Spilled water on my keyboard, sorry. No worries, no worries. Look, considering the fact that you're also trans, I feel like, okay. Alright, I'm gonna go on Discord, and see if you sent me like a friend request and sent me stuff about Polly being a racist bitch, because apparently she's been a bit of a hypocrite, from what I understand, which is really unfortunate. Yeah, with that being said, Do do do. I don't see anything. So here, oh no, I'll do it now. Okay, yeah. Don't be transphobic to her, that's what she wants, lol. Yeah, it's like my comedy brain and my ethics brain are like conflicting. I'm getting cognitive dissonance when I see jokes like that. It's like, well, you know, it is kind of funny, but at the same time, we probably shouldn't be saying that. You know, but like here's the thing, all right? And we didn't get this far into the stream that I did like a long time ago, back when I was a femboy. But one of the things that I said to insult her, because I have rewatched this semi-recently at like 3 times speed to know what the contents of the video would be. And we just didn't get this far. One of the things I said to insult her was something, I think it was something about like me making fun of the fact that you could see her mustache line, which I think was shitty. Like I should, like, that was one of the things where it's like, oh God, I have to disavow this. Like that's not, like, there's no good that comes from that. Like, that's just, that's too mean in my opinion. And also the reason that I was doing that was also because that was also my biggest insecurity at the time. Was, what if people can see my mustache line? Right? So I disavow that specifically. And we didn't get that far, but I do want to address that. Because I do think that that was shitty. Yeah, I don't remember if I said anything else that I would deem to be super problematic, but that definitely rubbed me the wrong way. Not because I have an issue with insulting poly people, but if there are like other trans women that are like, that have like that same insecurity, then that would negatively affect them, right? And I don't want that. So, fun fact, my doctor called me this week and told me my hormone levels were dangerously high, over 900 PG. That's not good. It's actually better to not have extremely high hormone levels. Actually, I know. What a crazy idea. Okay, I accepted your friend request. Send all the receipts. Maybe we go over some of this stuff on like a different stream. Simply because like you know, I don't know. I guess we'll watch part of this while I wait.
So I popped in and I got to the part where, let's see, I came into the part where you said essentially that, I think it was where you said, it was just before where you said, it'll be a genocide when armed state agents come and try to drag trans kids away. And I was thinking, well, hold on a second. Like, that's kind of an arbitrary way to define a genocide. Like, is what they're doing in Texas, where they're essentially saying, if you're a gender affirming parent, we will take your kids away from you. If you are a gender denying parent, if you gaslight your kid to go back in the closet, then that's good parenting. Like, how different is that from state agents, armed state agents, like transing people or like rounding up trans people? Like, that seems to be a distinction without a difference at that point.
Okay, so
notice how right off the bat, she actually doesn't come across as unhinged. This is definitely a good start, I have to say. With that being said, she doesn't come across as unhinged at all during this debate. She actually is able to maintain composure and not sound like a complete lunatic. And that's important, because this demonstrates that she's able to make arguments without having terrible optics. Not to say that optics are everything, okay? I'm not Vaush, but optics can be important in the context of a debate.
when I talk about genocide, I don't think I'm using an arbitrary definition. I think we were just going through international definitions and also just the way that it's the legal precedent that's set for it in the past. And it seems to be the case that when people are convicted for the crime of genocide, the bar is incredibly high. Like even really horrible things like say like the Holodomor it's contested whether or not that's a genocide because there's the sign of whether or not it was intentionally targeted at one.
There we go.
Group,
we're back to the
Russia.
So keep in mind that this is going to be a topic that directly affects Polly, that she's going to care about a lot. So if she were to get overly heated in any debate, this would be like the time to do it, right? As in, not saying that that's good, but it would. But what I mean by that is it would be the most understandable. Also, oh right, yeah. One other thing, I called her a groomer once in a tweet. Tactically, she freaked out for like a week. Real, but yeah. I've accepted your friend request, by the way, young black economist. Feel free to accept that. But yeah. Anyways, let's continue.
We're starving people in
What
countries.
do you think, chat? I love my jellies. My jellies are.
So you get into like a really murky territory, and if you look at the cases of the Srebrenica massacre in
very
Bosnia, the way that was
relaxing.
determined to be a genocide, there's all kinds.
Here's the thing: is Lonerbox is literally downplaying the trans genocide, which is blatantly obvious to be something. It's blatantly obvious that it's something that's like a real issue that needs to be taken seriously in terms of like the actual legislation being pushed, right? Like that's kind of the point of calling it what it is. And at the end of the day, he's taking this very cucked out liberal position. So this would actually be an example of where it would make sense to get angry, right? And she doesn't. She maintains her composure for the most part, which is good. That's what you should do in a debate, right? You shouldn't get overly heated if the other person is completely calm. But at the same time, she doesn't do this consistently, right? Now, notice how... What's the best way of putting it? I don't think at any point in the debate she comes across as super accusatory and says that Lonerbox is like an evil transphobic Nazi that wants all trans people to die. I think that's sort of like the distinction that makes her not look insane.
Of like thresholds that had to be met. They had to show like some of the evidence included they were bringing grave digging machinery. They were bringing like machinery for digging holes, and the generals couldn't explain why they.
And I'd also like to mention the fact that something that needs to be recognized in a discussion like this is a lot of this boils down to people defining words differently. So the definition that Lonerbox uses for genocide is going to be different, right? Than the definition that Pollypeople uses to a certain extent, right?
They brought it there. They have quotes of people talking about "we take revenge."
Now, obviously, the way that Lonerbox is obviously in the wrong here, right? Like he has the wrong position, but still.
What is his point?
What is his point that he wants there to be major like earth-moving machinery to dig mass graves before he's going to take this seriously? That can't be what he's saying. That cannot be what he's saying. Please tell me that's not what he's saying.
Yeah, exactly. And that would be an argument for why his definition is fucking dog shit in terms of how he defines genocide and where he draws that fucking threshold. Right? Oh, wait.
So I think when you use the term genocide, I don't really know exactly. I think if we're just going pure descriptive
genocide, but what do you mean? Oh my god,
activism.
This guy's useless.
I don't think it's enough at all. I think if we're talking about
this guy is absolutely useless.
I think there are sometimes people who use the word genocide to be rhetorically effective. I think that's understandable in cases. I think when it comes to the case of trans issues in America, I just don't know.
So if the state is trying to, if the state does two things, with state power directly naming, saying trans kids must be taken away from their parents, plus we're going to now introduce laws to eliminate people's ability to get insurance for transition-related care, and then...
So this is important. Notice how she's making an actual argument. This is a lot better than saying that he's an evil Nazi transphobic piece of shit that wants all trans people to die because he's in favor of the Republican politicians being able to get away with a genocide, right? Notice that there's like a complete difference in the kind of rhetoric she uses, even though there's arguably more at stake for her, which is interesting. It's like she takes it more seriously or something when it applies to her. It's as if she doesn't need to use certain labels to be more inflammatory or whatever, or to, categorize people based on flimsy or non-existent evidence about them and what they believe. But notice how, and like I just noticed in my chat, people are saying loner cuck. So Black Economist sent me, young Black Economist said, there's a lot. I was her mod for a while, and there were lots of other people involved, but here I uploaded the only time I ever talked about it on stream. Ooh. Is this tea? Let's look at the tea, sis. But yeah, notice how, like, right off the bat, she makes arguments. It's like the opposite of her rhetorical approach with me, which was not making arguments. So, with that being said, we're not going to watch the entirety of this because it is getting a little bit late and I'm not going to stream forever, but we might do multiple streams. That is the ultimate content strategy. But we'll watch part of this It's called My Measured Response My Measured Response to Unserious Poly People and JFTI. I don't know who JFTI is, but yeah, we'll start with this.
It's an issue that we have. It's not an issue with someone else, somewhere else. There's always, someone else, something, nothing, chat can be brutal. There's nothing we can do about it. You can start by not having Nazi mods. How about that? How about we start with getting rid of all the mods that are literal Nazis? Let's start there. All right, let's start there, and then let me know how the chat's doing later on after that. Okay.
There's a lot more coming. Hold on. Yeah, we might have to do an entirely separate stream for this. If there's like more, like I'll do like a 10-hour stream covering this or some shit, just because it's interesting. I mean, the main point of this stream was just to like criticize her and her rhetoric and explain why it's ineffective. But yeah, like, and that's one of the things I've pointed out is the fact that my rhetoric has changed. Pollypeople's is stagnant. Hers has not improved at all. If anything, it's gotten worse.
I have some pictures to show you.
Okay.
Okay. So here's so there's this mod. Okay. She bothered me like actually stopped bothering me for a while. Like she stopped bothering me personally, which to me I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like she stopped adding me at chats, but she would add me all the time when I first started coming to the stream, to like Twitch.
That's just me about it. And the only one I uploaded, I have a bunch of clips of Polly. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna get through this entire stream. I might also, I know we're not gonna get through the entire stream or video. Video. But we can go over short clips, maybe potentially. There's also like a background noise in your thing, so I might like what I might do if I talk about this specifically for an extended period of time is like download it and then modify the audio and use like a fucking noise gate and like a noise suppression. Like I'll take like a noise profile or whatever the fuck it's called on Audacity, like during the silent bit, one of the silent bits, and then I'll use that. So, but yeah, we'll start, but we won't finish this.
Hana, right? I'm sure you guys see her around, Hana thing. And like I was so like, why is this person like, first I just thought it was just a random chatter, like continuously following me now, continuously like adding me and saying like the most racist questions, like one time she was like, would you if you're a black person, so you think you can have guns, would you go kill your neighbor, like randomly, like for no, like I had nothing, I didn't say anything about anything, like she would do things like that, right? And
that's like, yeah, that's like the race, that's like the racist equivalent of asking a trans woman about her penis unprompted. So when you have sex, like in terms like, does your penis still get hard when you're on estrogen? Like, do you still have like the male sexual urges? It's like, shut the fuck up. It's like, why do people think that those are like normal things to say?
And people's chats, like when I was still VIP in Grimlo's stream. And she was nobody. She would go, she would say something to that to me, and I'm just like, can you all do something about this? You're this person, and they'd just be like, oh, just chill out. JJ's a friend of the stream, and just continue on, right? Because that's normal, right?
Yeah, I don't know why she wouldn't continue.
Whatever. This like doesn't even matter to me as much. So this is like this is recently, right? This is like a couple days ago. I have more pictures, right? So they keep posting this picture, and they say it's me. This one, it's pretty, isn't it? One, and then like what's wrong with my hairline? My hairline's fine. Right, so like it's not even whatever. It's just like the typical kind of racist thing that people say. So they're like, okay, look, this person is YBE, and here's Hana. Why would you post this? Why would you post YBE? Whatever. Okay, so it's just right? It's just racist being racist, right? And I'm just like, okay. Here's another one.
Okay.
Let's see.
All right. This might be something I have to look at like off stream. To like
another Terminator. This one's the Terminator.
To come to conclusions and then get to like the very specific parts that are that I would want to talk about. Simply because and this isn't really like your fault necessarily. Simply because you're not like a big content creator or whatever the fuck. But there is like a lot of dead air that makes it a lot more difficult. Oh shit! There's like an entire. Oh god. Here are the files. It's a bunch of stuff that goes through Polly and some of her friends being shitheads. There's a 7-hour raw video of Polly doing a racist hate stream. Jesus Christ. Polly admits to giving private info to James. But yeah, there's a lot. Just for your reference as well, some of these people are bad to fuck with, in my opinion. Have harassed lots of people, not just me. But yeah, there's no doubt in my mind Polly will see your stream, lol. Someone told her about it already, I think. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. I don't know if she's going to engage with it or not. I mean, I've already talked about her on stream before, and I know for a fact she had to have seen those. Like, yeah, I don't know. So she's either going to do one of two things. She's gonna watch it, but pretend to not care and ignore it because I'm not like a large content creator. So whatever I say doesn't matter. Or she's gonna make like 10 videos about me or or like dedicate like a 10-hour stream to responding to me, which is what the preferable outcome in my opinion. That would be way more entertaining. Aren't you bigger than her? Yeah, but like if I'm levying legitimate criticisms, it would make sense that she would try to ignore them, right? Like, I feel like this, especially because I'm interacting with, like, one of her, like, previous mods. Like, I feel like she would want to cover this shit up, right? Now that she knows that, like... Because, like, if she's watching the entire stream that I'm doing right now, if she watches the whole thing, she knows that I'm going to talk about some stuff, some dirty laundry that she doesn't want people to know is being aired. So I think that optically the best thing, I guess she's not known for good optics, but I guess optically the best thing she could do is just ignore it, since our communities aren't really intertwined, so it won't really affect her. But if like a larger content creator were to talk about it, she wouldn't be able to ignore it. Is the evidence legit? I haven't covered it yet. I will be going over it at some point. I mean, this was mainly a matter of rhetoric. At least that's my position. But yeah, I will definitely be going over some evidence on future streams because, again, I just wanted to go over like whether or not I find her actual rhetoric to be malicious rather than behind the scenes stuff, right? Like how she, like, I guess the main point of this stream is like, how does she publicly portray herself? And is she doing this maliciously or is she just misunderstood? Right? And I feel like the conclusion I come to is that she's malicious. Because I feel like if I am as charitable as humanly possible and she manages to somehow conclude that I'm a white supremacist Nazi because I slightly disagree with her in terms of how we define a certain term, then I feel like at that point, it doesn't get any more bad faith than that. Oh man. She does the same thing to other black trans mod. Like a month ago, the other mods asked her not to, and she still did, so they left. Oh, damn. Just imagine what it takes to get rid of mods you had for years through all that BS. Yeah, literally. Dude, I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for the fucking falling out, all right? I'm waiting for the grand falling out between Pollypeople and HasanAbi daily. That's what I'm waiting for. I can't wait to see that. Dude, once HasanAbi daily leaves the Pollypeople community, it's Jover. It's completely fucking over for her. She's fucked. That, like, I guarantee, like, I bet HasanAbi daily is gonna be her, like, last supporter. I'm confused. What is the summary of what she did? We don't know yet. That's, I guess, something that you're just gonna have to learn. Next stream. Dun 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 dun. It's a mystery. It's a mystery. Oh no. But yeah, I guess this stream is about her rhetoric. Next stream is gonna be about what goes beyond her rhetoric. And I think, based on what I know, it's gonna be spicy. Or, who knows, maybe I look at the evidence and I'm like, well, hold on. I agree that Pollypeople is unhinged, but this is insufficient evidence to draw this conclusion, or, this is kind of bad, but it's not the end of the world, right? Or, okay, this is something that somebody in our community did that she's not necessarily responsible for, right? I could come to those conclusions. I might end up thinking, actually, no, she's innocent in this regard, right? Even though I dislike her, right? That's the beautiful thing about me and my streams is I'm willing to be honest about that. I think you can become friends with her, bring her to the light, lol. Are you saying I should do the thing where I have the mindset of, well, you see, I can fix her, okay? I promise I can fix her. You know what? Maybe that's what I do. Maybe that's what I do. Is I fix her. I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see. If she allows for that, if she wants to improve rhetorically or as a person, like, I am more than willing to accept the shit out of that. Because unlike her, I'm not uncharitable. I'm not unwilling to forgive people and be kind and empathetic and understand that people can be wrong and change their positions, or not understand why what they're doing is harmful, or come to terms with the fact that, they're not perfect and here's how they fucked up and here's how they can change. Ultimately, I think that that's valid. Because unlike her, I'm an actual leftist, which I guess, unfortunately, entails the position of being in favor of rehabilitative justice, sadly. So I guess I have no choice but to want to rehabilitate. Oh, darn. Lol, maybe you will succeed where others have failed? Yeah. I mean, at this point, I feel like I'm at a point where, like, nobody else in my position would give any amount of charitability to her. Like, anybody else in my position would say that she's a lost cause. Like, she's burned every bridge. She burned the bridge between me and her before there was one to even be built. But I think that there's a bridge that can be built. Look, I think that we might disagree on some stuff, but I think that the main point of contention, more than anything else, is entirely based on rhetoric and the rhetoric she uses and her inability to be rhetorically effective, to reel people in to the left. Because every time her audience grows or whenever that happens, it's not that there are new people that are convinced by her arguments. It's people that come from Hasan or whoever already agrees with most of her positions that decide to start watching her, that already agree with her conclusions. That doesn't really serve that much utility for the left. That serves utility for her personally and nothing else, because her rhetoric is not anything special. People could go to my channel and hear my arguments, and they would have a much better idea of how to argue against people that disagree with them. So even if my only audience was people that already agree with me, I would still be presenting them with viable arguments that they could use for people that don't agree with me or them. And frankly, that's why there are people that disagree with me that watch my content. That's the whole point, is to convince them to, throw away their wrong positions and come to the correct conclusions, the same way I have over time. I didn't start out as a leftist. Are you fucking kidding me? If you asked my 14-year-old self what I thought about socialism, my genuine response would be, socialism is bad because that's when the government owns stuff. That would have been my response and level of analysis at the time. Right? People can change. And I want to believe that Pollypeople is not entirely malicious, but that she's just misunderstood and can change, and that maybe she just needs to work on her rhetoric a little bit and realize how she's harming the left more than she's helping it, and to realize that all she's doing is isolating people that would otherwise be sympathetic to her positions. And if she doesn't take this opportunity to grow at any point in the near future or the future at all, then I don't know what will, considering how charitable I am. I'm not out to get her. I'm not out to fucking shit on her. That's not the point of this. no matter how easy it is, no matter how tempting it is, I don't want to do that. I want her to genuinely be a better person, to be somebody that can do good for the left, who can do good advocacy, who can persuade people. And that's where she's lacking. I know she's capable of persuading people. I know she's capable. She's just not engaging in a way that allows her to do that. She's 40 and she spent her entire life ripping people off as a millionaire, investment banker. OMG, you're gonna get let down so hard. Well, I don't know yet. This is, I mean, I don't know too much about that, but if she's a millionaire, she needs to up her fucking production quality on her streams and in her thumbnails. She can pay people to fucking make her thumbnails for that. For like, I thought that YouTube and streaming was like a side thing for her. But whatever, I guess. She needs to work on her thumbnail creation. Maybe she ends up being a complete letdown, but I want to believe that she can do better. I want to believe that anybody can be rehabilitated. Okay, maybe not literally everybody. Sometimes it's too risky, but I don't think that is necessarily the case here. And it's like she has taken every opportunity she has to burn any possible bridge that could be built with me. Even Nick Fuentes? Yes, even Nick Fuentes, okay? If Nick Fuentes started taking estrogen and finally came out as a trans girl and admitted that National Socialism is cringe and made a bunch of arguments against her previous positions, you know, I would actually support the shit out of her, you know? I would be more than willing. Like, okay, obviously, jokes about Nick Fuentes being closeted trans girl aside, I would like if she decided to condemn her existing rhetoric and change her. Now I'm using the wrong pronouns about Nick Fuentes. I don't know if that's bad or not, but it is funny. You know what? I'm gonna continue doing that because she is transphobic. Anyways, you know, if she were to, but then it's also hard to be taken seriously. But okay, look, if she were to change her positions, if Nicole Fuentes, okay, notorious closet trans girl, were to condemn her previous positions and argue against National Socialism and argue in favor of trans rights, etc., and change over time, I would support her on her journey, both in her journey to transition and her journey to having better political positions. Unironically, though, I would support that. Not that I would support her right off the bat, right? It would take a long time. It would be a process, but I would support the process of her changing in both ways, transition wise and politics wise. Obviously, I'm only joking in one of those areas. Politics wise, I'm being dead ass. With that being said, I think that if Nick Fuentes were to be good faith and willing to change his positions, I would be okay with that. I would encourage it. Hi, bottom, how are you? Shut up, I'm not a bottom, but I'm doing all right. You're a bottom. But that's the thing, is like, even if Pollypeople if she believed that my positions were unserious, but wanted to convince me to stick around and hear her out and what she has to say, all she would have to do is say that I'm an unserious person because I'm a bottom. Because that would be funny, right? There would be comedy there, and I would laugh and find it funny, right? Then I'd be like, okay, fuck you. But it's like, it wouldn't be something that I would be like, oh, well, shit, I'm not going to listen to anything you have to say in the future, right? The fact that I'm even here, willing to listen to her in the future, I mean, I'm not going to say that it says a lot about me, right? Maybe this is just my way of morally grandstanding and making myself look good. But at the end of the day, if she doesn't, I don't know, respond in good faith, then I don't like to say this, but maybe she would be a lost cause. I hope she's not. And I hope that she realizes that she can improve her rhetoric, if nothing else, even if she completely disagrees with me. Okay? Even if this is like a Destiny / Vaush dynamic that can't last forever. I, at the very least, want her to not harm leftist ideology. I don't know. I feel like if she watched my content and listened to my rhetoric, she would improve. You know what? That does sound like something Destiny would say about Vaush, potentially. I am, but so are you. Nuh-uh, I'm not a bottom. Being a bottom is anti-gender non-conforming. Shut up. Vaush, famous leftist, and CP enjoyer. This is true. Well, draw on CP. We do have to make the distinction. We don't want to exaggerate. We're not about that in this household. I know people who have known her better than anyone else online who have given up hope. Yeah, but maybe they just weren't debate brained enough. Maybe that's the real issue. Maybe because they weren't willing to argue over the ethics of a white person saying the N-word in a niche scenario. Maybe that was the real issue. Lefties infight all the time. I don't think she's doing any meaningful damage. Yeah, but I know she could do good. She has the intellectual capacity. She doesn't look bad in every single debate that she's done. I know she's capable of being effective rhetorically. I don't know why she doesn't do this. And maybe she can learn from me. I mean, hell, she's 40. Maybe she's set in stone in her ways. I'm 19. I'm way more willing to change than she is, most likely. But with that being said, I don't want to believe that she's too far gone. She's scared to do that and won't. That's her trick. She doesn't argue with anyone to her left. Interesting. Now, I wonder if she would be willing to debate me. I don't think she would. But that's a tough call because ideologically, I have more reasons to believe that leftism is a good ideology, right? Whereas for her, it's more of an aesthetic. But she's more aesthetically left than I am. Why are you so charitable, lol? Because I want to believe that people can be better. And if she proves me wrong, then she proves me wrong. Maybe I've been charitable for nothing. But all that does is make her look bad and me look good. So there's nothing I can lose from being charitable, right? It's not a zero-sum game where I lose something from being charitable. Yeah, I could shit on her for being unhinged. I've already done that. And it's entertaining, but that was a long time ago. Where was the charity for Stardust? Okay. Look, when it comes to Stardust, she personally attacked one of my friends by saying transphobic shit. That's different. And also, Stardust is like, not saying that Polly isn't an unserious person, but Stardust doesn't have the intellectual capacity to be a good representation of the left. She's hopeless. There's nothing good that would come from her shifting leftward. All she would do is make my positions look bad to normies. That's it, right? That's the thing is I, as a content creator, sometimes optically look bad to normies, but these people don't hear my arguments or know what my positions are, right? That's sort of like the main distinction, right? But there are normies that watch Stardust that are going to be like, okay, this is a fucking cringe position. You hate on her so much? Yeah, because she's stupid. She's one of the dumbest people I've ever had the displeasure of watching. She does SS Sniper Wolf level reactions. Literally nothing goes on in her brain. Like, I'm sorry, but she's so far down the intellectual ladder compared to me that it's not even worth it. I mean, you could make the same argument about Pollypeople, but I view Pollypeople in a different light. You see, it's sort of similar to how, like, like a schizophrenic person has wrong beliefs about the world potentially, right? Like they have a wrong perception. There's something not right about the way they view the world, right? As in, not in terms of like their moral prescriptions, right? But like they literally see things that aren't there, right? Similarly, but that doesn't make them dumb. It doesn't make them incapable of reasoning or it's the same thing with Polly. She's capable of reasoning. It's like she just refuses to do so. She's, I would say, you know, I don't know how far down she is on the intellectual ladder. She could be a very smart person, and I wouldn't know because she hasn't shown me that side of herself ever. But at the end of the day, she comes across as unhinged, so it doesn't matter. Stardust is somebody that doesn't really have that much potential intellectually. And maybe that's ableist to say, but I don't fucking care. Look, she's just... Not to mention the fact that I have a personal feud with her, which is different, right? And also, I would rather insult her rather than try to be overly charitable simply because, you know, she's like associated with like she's known in like commentary spaces, and people are just gonna they're gonna side with whoever's funnier and whoever makes better content, right? Unless they really don't like somebody or really don't like the arguments of somebody, right? So I'm thinking about releasing a video where I talk about why Stardust's fucking SS Sniper Wolf level reactions are fucking dog shit, right? Slime stream, wait, what about it? Yes, tears. On the derangement grind again, what? If we're being fair, it wasn't out of the blue. It was in response to Jalen telling one of Stardust's friends she wished her rapist finished the job. I don't know the context of that, but if you're going to say transphobic shit about my friend, and you double down and you basically cause her to cry, and then you don't really show any real remorse. You say you felt kind of bad about it, but you don't actually apologize or take back any of the things you said that led to that. I feel like at that point, it's like, okay. I feel like I have a right to shit on you back, right? Yeah, either way. That came after her transphobic rant. Olive went to bat for her and Jalen lost it. Yeah. She's not sorry, lol. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I was saying. But that's the thing is, I guess one of the main distinctions is Pollypeople is further left than me. I think. Not further left. Sorry. She's aesthetically further left than me. Let me make that clear. She thinks she's further left than me. I don't know if she is. Again, being far left doesn't necessarily make you right about stuff. There is a correlation, by the way. Generally, people that are further left tend to be correct about more stuff and more educated, but that's not always the case. So she could have positions that are further left than mine, but she doesn't have good arguments for those positions. Is it a competition? Oh, no, it is not. It is not a competition. But the reason I bring that up is somebody being more